football modifier. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 51: A Sudden Ability. On the second day after the game, the experts of the world football media couldn't help but jump out to express their opinions. This is actually a very interesting thing. As always, the pro-Barcelona media focused their reports on the 19-year-old genius Messi. The Argentine golden boy became the 7th player in Barcelona's history to perform a hat-trick in the Spanish national derby. At the same time, with a slight gap of 2 months and 9 days, he ranked second after the genius Alcantara in Barcelona's history and became the second youngest player to perform a hat-trick in the national derby. As for the youngest boy Alcantara, when he performed a hat-trick in the 1916 Barcelona 6:6 draw with Real Madrid, he was only 19 years, 6 months and 7 days old. As for Barcelona's 3:5 defeat to Real Madrid, these media chose to ignore it in principle. On the contrary, for the pro-Real Madrid media, Messi's hat-trick is unimportant. Only the bloodiness and courage shown by Real Madrid when the score was behind are the most commendable. The helmsman of the Galaxy battleship, Tongfan, was promoted from the transitional coach in the media to the best founder of the Real Madrid dynasty. Tongfan's loyal only man Carlos Ruben mentioned in his article that if the club's board of directors can always keep their trust in Lee, then this young coach, who is only 22 years old, can continue to rule Real Madrid for 50 years. Just like Ferguson did at Manchester United, or even greater, the Tongfan storm has a tendency to become more and more intense, centered in Spain, and radiating the entire European football world. At the age of only 22, he was hailed as the future godfather of football. Tongfan can be regarded as the first person in history in the past century, from the invention of Cuju by Zhao Wang's counselor in ancient China in 307 AD, which is untraceable in history, to the establishment of the English Football Association in 1873, which is traceable in history. No head coach can be more worthy of the word phenomenon than Tongfan. Among young people, he is the best head coach of a wealthy club, and among the head coaches of wealthy clubs, he is the most upright young man. Unlike the shockingly hurricane sweeping across Europe, China, thousands of miles away, presents a harmonious landscape of warm breezes. The Chinese people have always been extremely harsh in their attitude towards superstars. Basketball giant Yao Ming and 110-meter hurdle sprinter Liu Xiang have both had the miserable experience of being turned over by Yao hating and Liu hating. However, after the Tongfan storm hit this time, Chinese fans with different preferences rarely stood on the united front with the characteristics of Liu. The fan camp, on September 11th, Secret Sayok once again recorded a special program about Tongfan, detailing Liu's various wise tactical arrangements during the national derby, with the background music of My Future Is Not a Dream by Taiwan's music godfather Zhang Yusheng. The camera of Zhuo Xiaoqing interviewing Real Madrid's first team players flashed in slow motion one by one. Listening to the unattainable superstars such as Raul, Guti, Ronaldo, and Beckham offering their Chinese coach with effusive praise, the gluttons in front of the TV screen couldn't help but burst into tears. In this era when the top league in China and the rough league can't even find a sponsor willing to sponsor, in the era when one Chinese overseas player after another brings the fans' most ardent hope for football but eventually disappears in foreign leagues, in the era when Koreans brag about Park Ji-sung and Japanese show off Nakata Hidetoshi, Inamoto Junichi and Takahiro Naoyasu, Chinese fans welcomed their own pride with the most astonishing and incredible attitude. Tongfan. For all Chinese who love football, the appearance of Tongfan is a pleasant surprise. From the initial disbelief when seeing the news, to the final confirmation that this guy who suddenly appeared out of nowhere has indeed become the head coach of Real Madrid. From worrying that this young compatriot would not be able to be a coach of a wealthy club and become a laughingstock, to watching Liu defeat all the challenges in front of him with a high-spirited attitude, Chinese fans are boiling. Glutton. This word is full of derogatory and sarcastic meanings, no matter which direction you look at it from. It has become the most arrogant self-title of Chinese fans overnight. Yes, I'm a glutton, and I have many brothers and sisters who are also gluttons. We are all big gluttons. Can he save Chinese football? Is he willing to bring a golden trophy to Chinese football in the storm? If not, it would be fine to cultivate a few superstars like Ronaldo and Beckham for China. The fans have mixed feelings. On the one hand, they hope that this little man who has created miracles can lead the sluggish Chinese football to glory. On the other hand, they are worried that the Chinese football team will taint the pride of football that has finally appeared in their own country. Others besides the fans will not think so much. For them, the appearance of Li Tongfan means political achievements, money, fame, and fortune. Laoli is like an undeveloped virgin land, a sweet and tempting big cake, and all the monsters and demons want to pounce on it and take a bite. Dividing line equals Li Tongfan has no awareness of his fate of becoming a cake. After returning to Madrid with the team, Li Tongfan decided to study the relationship between FM 2007 and reality while the team was on vacation. In the past 2 months, Laoli has discovered many strange things. He took a taxi back to his villa and found that Wang Qing was not at home. She might have gone to modern holiday to write her travel notes. Laoli ate a few pieces of bread and hurried back to his room to study. When he opened the game, the system prompted that a week had passed and 2 points of character points were automatically deducted. There were 67 points left. However, because he had mastered the method of earning character points, Li Tongfan did not feel like the world was falling and the world was ending when he lost a few character points like before. But the prompt box that popped up next made Li Tongfan climax. Ding. Dang. Because you led your team to defeat the stronger Barcelona team, the system rewards 5 points of character points. Ding. Dang. Because your team suffered a misjudgment in the game, the system compensates 2 points of character points. Ding. Dang. You have won the gratitude of Real Madrid player Beckham, and the system rewards 2 points of character points. Ding. Dang. You have won the support of Real Madrid fans, and gained 1 point of ability. Point 1. Point of ability. In all the prompt boxes, Li Tongfan stared at this and was stunned. It's not character points, but ability, which is strange. What are ability points used for? The updates in the past 2 days have disappointed the fans. Xiaodao apologizes first, and then explains it in a single sheet. Thank you for the rewards from Running Pig, Flashing Fireworks, Yanjia 13. King of the world, and dismembering dead infants. The updates are unstable and too few, so I'm ashamed to ask for votes. Chapter 50 to the role of ability points. After clicking OK and clearing all the prompt boxes, Li Tongfan calculated that he had gained 9 character points in the match with Barcelona. After deducting the system compensation for the referee's misjudgment and the 4 points for Beckham's gratitude, he could actually get 5 character points by defeating Barcelona. This made Li Tongfan both happy and unhappy. What made him happy was that a strong team like Barcelona was indeed a big fat sheep for hunting character points, and was much more valuable than ordinary league opponents. What made him unhappy was that the system actually pointed out that Barcelona's strength was higher than Real Madrid, which was simply a naked contempt. As for the misjudgment mentioned by the system, it should be the time in the first half of the game when Ronaldo broke through and caused Valdes to foul. The referee Fernando actually shamelessly judged Ronaldo to have dived. It was really intolerable for the uncle, and even the system was extremely ashamed to compensate Laoli with 2 character points. However, this experience at least taught Li Tongfan 2 pieces of information. First, defeating an opponent stronger than his team will earn him extra character points from the FM 2007 system. Second, this insidious system has become very humane, and he will get points compensation for misjudgment. Putting these aside, Li Tongfan is most concerned about the ability points. Ability points. This is another new term thrown to Laoli by the FM 2007 system, which makes Laoli's pink heartbeat non-stop. Character points are used to maintain the operation of the system. If the remaining character points are negative, they will be wiped out by the system. So what about ability points? Is it the same? That would be terrible. Laoli remembered clearly without thinking that he had gained a total of 1 ability point so far. I wonder how long it can last. After searching repeatedly on the computer screen, he could not find the explanation menu for ability points. Lee Tongfan scratched the back of his head and thought about it. The ability points are probably related to the head coach information. He clicked on the information column on the computer homepage and found something abnormal. Lee Tongfan's detailed information is divided into two aspects: training ability and mental ability, among which training ability includes the following 9 sub-items: affinity for young players, 10 defensive training, 10 technical training, 10 offensive training, 10 personnel management, 10 goalkeeping training, 10 physical training, 10 psychological tactics, 10 tactical training, 10 after training ability. It is mental ability. Mental ability includes the following 8 sub-items: motivation, 10 discipline requirements, 10 determination, 10 judging player ability, 10 judging player potential, 10 adaptability, 10 medical ability, 10 tactical knowledge. 10 These two types of abilities are the basic data indicators of every coach in the FM 2007 world. Don't look at Laoli's values are all 10. In fact, those who are familiar with FM know that there is no difference between 10 and 0. They are all blank data randomly generated by the system. As time goes by, they will automatically fluctuate according to the player's team performance. In the upper left corner of the screen, there is Laoli's avatar, and below the avatar is a line of small words. 1 ability point can be allocated. It can be used to permanently increase the training ability or mental ability value by 1 point, permanently increase the ability value. Lee Tongfan pondered for a while and understood the purpose of ability points. For example, this is just like playing an online game. After creating a character, you level up by killing monsters. In addition to gaining experience, you will gain corresponding skill points for each level up. If character points are compared to experience points, then ability points are undoubtedly skill points. Laoli shamelessly touched his slippery chin and grinned. So, after leading the team to defeat Barcelona, I actually upgraded. In this case, after all the hard work in the La Liga killing monsters to upgrade, and after the hard work of Barcelona, the big boss, which value should be added to this little ability point? There are 17 items in the 2 categories of training ability and mental ability, each of which is a necessary condition for becoming a super head coach. A few ability points are far from enough to fill the gaps in your teeth. But, oh, forget it. Laoli took a long breath with greed. No matter how small a mosquito is, it is still meat. The Great Wall has to be built brick by brick. Keep it for now. There is no need to rush to improve the training ability category for the time being, because he has already cheated and dealt with the fierce man greed. For a long time to come, there is no need to worry about the training of the Real Madrid first team points, so at present, this ability point should be added to the mental ability category. For Laoli, judging the ability and potential of players is enough with scout tools, and there is no need to strengthen it. As for medical ability, motivation, determination, etc., they are not the top priority. Only strengthening the ability of tactical knowledge is an urgent problem. Therefore, after thinking again and again, Lee Tongfan added this precious ability point to the tactical knowledge item. Ding dong. Consume 1 ability point. Improve tactical knowledge by 1 point. Are you sure? Old. Lee moved the mouse and clicked to confirm. Yes. Ding dong. Congratulations. Your tactical knowledge has been permanently improved by 1 point. At the moment when the system prompt box popped up, Lee Tongfan's brain was in a trance, and he seemed to understand many obscure things, but it was difficult to fully digest them at the moment. Compared to the earth-shattering change in language ability, in order to master Spanish, this inculcation of tactical knowledge is much milder. At least Lee Tongfan doesn't have to run to the toilet to fart, have diarrhea and vomit. Fortunately, Lee Tongfan is relieved. After dealing with the problem of ability points, the next step is to carefully analyze the intricate relationship between the FM 2007 system and reality in the 2 months and 10 days from the beginning of July 2006. When he took office as the head coach of Real Madrid to the end of the Spanish national derby in the 3rd round of the league, the FM 2007 system is the key and lifeblood of Lee Tongfan's achievements today. Becoming a football coach coaching a big club, listening to thousands of people cheering for your brilliance, deciding the fate of others like an emperor, watching the ones high-ranking stars charge forward with your baton. This feeling is like being addicted to smoking, and it slowly seeps into Lee Tongfan's bones. From the first warm-up match between the team and Osasuna, Lee Tongfan has been crazy about this new life. The key to everything lies in the incredible FM 2007 system in this old IBM T30. As a person with a lot of ideas, Lee Tongfan has been constantly studying the intricate connection between the FM 2007 system and reality since the first day he became the coach of Real Madrid. Until today, Leoli can make a conclusion with certainty: the relationship between the game and reality is a very shameless and lewd lover relationship, with a two-way influence. Recently, I have been too busy to reply to the messages and questions of the fans. Please forgive me. When I have time, I will open a separate chapter to reply in batches. I bow to thank the big names of Dismembered Dead Infant, Zia Lauting Ciu, Chiang CZ, We Were His Favorite, Yazhan Ho, Dead, and Mac Manaman for their awards. Ziodeo is really ashamed. 4,000 words today. Before the stable update, I will not ask for votes. Shame. Chapter 53: Reality deviates from the control of the game. Perhaps the function of the game affecting reality is so shocking that Lee Tongfan intentionally or unintentionally ignored the impact of reality on the game from the beginning. Now it seems that this is a very serious mistake. From the first launch of the game system on June 27th to today, when there are 3 game days left before the El Clasico of the 2006-07 season, in these 71 days, which may be said to be long or short, a total of 3 things happened between reality and things that the game clearly doesn't match. The first thing is about the transfer fee amount of Modric and Joel Luca. This incident was like a sharp thorn hidden deep in the flesh, and it had been suppressed in Lee Tongfan's heart for countless days. Lee Tongfan remembers very clearly that the transfer fee given to him by the system at the beginning was £6.9 million. In reality, the contract Calderon provided him was indeed £6.9 million. But under Modric and Joel Luca during the transfer process, a strange thing happened. The transfer fee for the two announced by the club's official website was actually £8.8 million. Since the power of the La Liga head coach is not as great as that of the Premier League, Lee Tongfan only made a purchase request to the club at that time. Everything else was taken care of by Mijatovic, the general manager in charge of transfer matters, so Leoli could not know the details. Of course, if it is just because the transfer fee exceeds the budget, Lee Tongfan will not care too much, because if the installment method is used in the game, players can indeed be purchased beyond the budget. But the actual situation is obviously not like this, because Lee Tongfan did not use installment payment at all. What's even more bizarre is that the scouting tool clearly told Lee Tongfan that the combined transfer fees of Modric and Joel Luca would not exceed £3 million. In the FM 2007 system, the final transaction value of the two people was indeed not much more than 3 million. Modric is worth 1.6 million and Joel Luca is worth 1.1 million. But why does it become £8.8 million in reality? Where did the extra £6.1 million go? Did it grow wings and fly away? This is really awesome. Even for real estate in China, the price increase rate is not so unreasonable. The second strange thing that happened between the game and reality happened to Real Madrid captain Raul. Real Madrid captain Raul scored a goal that should have belonged to Ruud van Nistelrooy in the second half of the home game against Getafe in the second round of the league. The word belongs is used because Lee Tongfan can remember clearly, even if he thinks with his toes. In the FM 2007 game system simulation the night before, this goal was scored by Ruud, but in reality, it changed. Become a credit to Lord of the Rings. However, the root cause of this strange incident lies with Leoli. This is actually a provocation deliberately made by Lee Tongfan to the game system, because Leoli needs to solve a question in his mind. Can the results of the system's prediction be changed artificially? So Leoli decided to take a risk. The thing is, in the La Liga opener against Mallorca, Lee Tongfan was brave and replaced captain Raul and vice-captain Guti at halftime. It was not until assistant coach Grad reminded Leoli that such behavior was actually a very stupid thing. Nothing destroys a relationship between generals more than replacing a team leader early after a team is ahead. What's more, Rawl's status in Real Madrid is definitely 10,000 times more prominent than Xiao Defeng, the legendary 8 wise king of the Song dynasty who held the golden mace to defeat the emperor. You must know that last season, Real Madrid head coach Brazilian Rosenberg failed to properly handle the relationship with the King of the Ring, which led to him losing his authority in the locker room, and finally rolled up his bedroll and left in despair. Lee Tongfan is a wretched and crazy man, but his emotional intelligence is not low. Leo Lee soon discovered that he had reached a dead end. That is, he had subconsciously digitized reality. In his eyes, the 24 members of the first team turned into a series of cold numbers in the FM 2007 system, and turned into small green dots that only moved back and forth on the screen. But he ignored one thing, a very fatal and essential thing. Players in real life are living people with flesh and blood and emotions. Since they are human beings, their thoughts and emotions are far more complex than the dull simulation of the FM 2007 system. If you continue to use the method of playing games to manage the team, sooner or later you will cause a big mess, like Mars hitting the Earth. Take King of the Rings as an example. As the team's #1 player, even though he was neither injured nor underperformed, he was repeatedly substituted by the head coach in front of tens of millions of fans, saying that he had no objection. That's fake. People compete for a breath. Buddha competes for a stick of incense. If Lee Tongbum continues to push the team leader against himself in such a confused manner, then the King of the Rings will definitely take some measures to give this rookie coach who dare to touch his own chi some color, to see what will happen to the two of them. It is a war without gunpowder. Even though Aoli has the cheating artifact of people blocking kills, Buddha blocking killing Buddha, he can definitely easily turn Rawl into a stadium idiot with an ability value of 0 overpass, but he keeps doing it endlessly. Civil War was definitely not what Laoli wanted. What's more, Raul Gonzalez is also a very respectable player. From the elegant young man in white who scored a goal with one sword, to the elegant man who is about to enter his 40s, he has dedicated his entire career to Real Madrid. Such a man deserves respect. So Lee Tongfan thought carefully and decided to implement benevolent governance. In the second game against Getafe, Lee Tongfan arranged for all to play the whole game and chose to keep Raul Gonzalez on the court at the first extremely important key point in the game. This key point is the 75th minute and 42 seconds of the whole game, a time point when Raul was replaced by Van Nistelrooy in the game simulation the night before. In order to verify his doubts, Lee Tongfan did not replace Raul with Van Nistelrooy as happened in the game. In this case, what will happen next? The real score changes. Raul is injured and leaves the field. Will the goal belonging to Van Nistelrooy in the game still happen? At that moment, Lee Tongfan clearly felt his heart trembling slightly. No one could predict what would happen if the system prediction of FM 2007 was changed. What if the system prediction was invalid from then on? For Lee Tongfan, it would be a catastrophe. Today is the only update. I will go to the train station to take the train later. Tomorrow's update will be around 10 PM. Thanks to the public security officers, Shen Fawangsi, Xiao Lautingayuzi, Lee Seo Shiseo and other big names for their awards. Xiaodeo is ashamed. I don't have time to do the essence and replies. I will make up for them one by one when I get home. Chapter 54. There is a layer of window paper that needs to be broken. However, curiosity is like a naughty kitten, and its little claws have been scratching in Laoli's heart, which made Tongfan Lee finally make this courageous choice. If he does not figure out the operating rules of the FM 2007 system when everything is still going well, and continues to cross the river by feeling the stones in the dark, sooner or later something beyond Laoli's control will happen. It is better to fight the wolf in advance than to mend the fold after the sheep have been lost. Fortunately, the worst result did not happen. Van Nistelrooy's credit allowed Raul, who continued to stay on the field, to take the ball away. Raul played the full game as he wished and scored his first goal of the season, and the relationship between him and Laoli was significantly eased. Although the scorer was different, the final score of the game did not change. Li Tongfan's guess was temporarily confirmed, which can barely be regarded as a good thing. The third thing, that reality deviated from the FM 2007 simulation was the penalty kick saved by the little boy Diego Lopez in the Spanish national derby. In fact, in the result of Leoli's last FM 2007 system simulation before the game, after Casillas was sent off with a red card, Ronaldinho easily scored the penalty kick. According to the computer screen, Ronaldinho pushed the ball into the lower right corner of the Real Madrid goal with the arch of his foot, while Diego Lopez, who came on as a substitute, rushed in the opposite direction. As a person with a shameless style of geodegging, a non-famous crosstalk actor, Leoli carefully remembered every detail of this penalty kick. What happened next was the classic drama of Li Tongfan cleverly replaced the goalkeeper, and little Diego bravely saved the penalty kick during the derby. However, this opportunistic trick did not achieve the effect that Li Tongfan expected, because the final result simulated in the FM 2007 system was 3:5, and the actual score in reality was also 3:5. That is, after being shamelessly missed by Leoli, Barcelona scored a goal that did not exist in the FM 2007 simulation in advance. It was this goal that brought Messi, a gifted teenager, supreme glory. He should have scored 2 goals, but he unexpectedly scored a hat-trick. He became famous in one battle, rising from a golden boy to Maradona's successor. FM made him successful, and FM also made him fail. Leoli has now figured out the law of FM 2007 simulated results. No matter how you play tricks, no matter how you use the plot you know in advance to correct the actual game process, the final score will not change. For example, Raul scored a goal that belonged to Van Nistelrooy, and Leoli destroyed Barcelona's penalty kick, but made Messi successful. So far, the facts have proved that the final win-loss relationship and the number of goals simulated by FM 2007 will always be exactly the same as the reality. However, Leoli has doubts about this conclusion, because whether it is the rule of eliminating the character points or the rule of rewarding the ability points, the performance of the FM 2007 system is more and more like a super head coach training machine. From this perspective, the previous conclusion is absolutely untenable. Li Tongfan dares to swear on his closest brother that the ability of FM 2007 to predict the results of the game in advance is definitely not to simply predetermine the results of the game, but to allow the players to gain control over the upcoming games, because only in this way can the players' actual abilities be increased, and they can stride forward towards the path of becoming a truly famous coach. Moreover, if human power can change the prediction results, the consumption of character points can be minimized. For example, if a draw or a defeat is obtained after the first FM 2007 system prediction, Leoli only needs to remember the opponent's goal method and time, and he can eliminate the goal in the system prediction through specific tactical arrangements and adjustments in the real game, without having to spend character points that are more precious than gold to repeatedly use the system prediction to achieve the goal. In the last game against Barcelona, Leoli was so angry that he consumed 22 character points to get a narrow victory of 3:5. The victory certainly made the world marvel and admire, but the price Leoli paid was also heavy. This made Li Tongfan clearly realize the shortcomings of FM 2007's simulation function. There are more teams in the football world that are stronger than Real Madrid than Barcelona. If he wins by repeatedly saving abnormally every time, then Li Tongfan may not be able to support a few games before being wiped out by the system. Relying entirely on FM 2007's system simulation function is not a long-term solution. Li Tongfan vaguely felt that he seemed to have grasped the key to further optimize the actual results by using FM 2007's system simulation results, but there was only a thin layer of paper-pasted window paper missing, and he couldn't break it, no matter how hard he tried. However, this matter is not urgent. Leoli has plenty of time to slowly figure out the truth. According to the current situation, as long as he is careful, FM 2007's system simulation function can still meet the needs of reality, although doing so will consume more character points. Among all the 3 reality out of the game things mentioned above, the first thing that Lee Tongfan couldn't figure out the most was why Modric and Joel Lucas' game value and real value were so different. Is it the game that is wrong, or is there something unspeakable happening in reality? Lee Tongfan couldn't help but find the transfer history of the Tokrotian boys from the news column of the game system. That's right, the transfer fee was a genuine £2.7 million. Forget it. If you can't figure it out, don't think about it. Leoli is not a stubborn person. It's a blessing in disguise. If it's a disaster, it can't be avoided. Let's put it aside for now. In addition to all the problems, there is a thought that makes Leoli most uneasy. That is, since the game system in his four-handed MT30 is only FM 2007, then when the real time enters 2008, will it still have the current functions? Do I have to go to the street stall again and buy another pirated CD of FM 2008? But is the arrogant street stall owner who only cares about watching Champion Godfather and ignores customers still there? If he is, does this guy really have the same powerful pirated CDs of FM 2008, FM 2009 or even FM 2010? Damn it, Lee Tongfan now feels that life is like a gorgeous cheongsam, but it is crawling with lice. It's so annoying. So Leoli decided to find something that can make him feel unscrupulous to relieve his boredom. After thinking about it, this bitch remembered another bitch, Real Madrid's physical coach Angelo Mida. Sorry, Zyodeo has said too much. I'm now experiencing the real version of Lost on Journey. From HD to Zion, from Zion to Dinksy, from Dinksy to a small river ditch whose name I don't know. In order to go home, trains, cars, small vans, bridge repairs, and small roads washed away by heavy rains. I never knew that going home could be so grand and vigorous. This week's Sanjiang and competitive strong push was wasted. The above words were uploaded by Zyodeo, who was carried by bread to an internet cafe in Huning, the holy place where the Red Army met during the Long March. The content of this chapter was coded on the train last night. I have to find a hotel to rest and continue to code it. This is the only update today, and I don't ask for anything. Tomorrow's update will be after 4 PM. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55. Physical Training for All. Building your own happiness on the pain of others can only be done by awesome people. Obviously, the current Lee Tongfan is such an awesome person. Now that Beckham has achieved great success under the guidance of the network core training method and scored 2 free kicks that turned the tide in the Spanish national derby, the outcome of the previous bet with Real Madrid's physical fitness coach Angelo Mida already divided. It's time for this Spanish muscular man who talks so much about yellow-skinned pig to pack up and get out. Lee Tongfan is a vengeful person, which is destined to make Angelo a tragedy on the coffee table. Then early the next morning, the players of Real Madrid's first team have returned from vacation and are undergoing recovery training at the training ground of Madrid Sports City Point. Leoli excitedly found grade the assistant coach who was in charge of training, and asked with a lewd expression, "Leoje, is that bastard Angelo here today? I think it's time for us to have a pleasant exchange." Grat saw through the ugly face of this young coach who was unforgiving, thought about it hesitantly, and tried to suggest, "Lee, I think there may be a misunderstanding between you." No. Old Lee even mastered English, and this time he did not betray the honest greed at all. "This is not a matter of misunderstanding. You must know that it is not, because he doubts a young, promising and impressive leader like me. I can't forgive the coach's dignity. Leoje, this is a matter of principle. He insulted my motherland." Lee Tongfan became more and more passionate as he spoke. He covered his heart with both hands and spittle flew everywhere. "Spain is your motherland. You are willing to use everything you have, and even your life to protect its dignity. Right, Leoje? Honest." People nod without hesitation. "That's right. You should understand me," Leoli said with a pious face. China is my motherland, and I'm willing to give everything for her. Angelo said something that I shouldn't have said, and I'm just doing it now. Do what a Chinese should do. You see, everything is simple, isn't it? Poor Grad was fooled again, and patted Li Tongfan on the shoulder in awe. Li, you are right. Your motherland will be proud of you. I have known for a long time that you will not do it, just because of personal grudges. Just force Angelo away. Li nodded in agreement, and wiped the cold sweat from his forehead, but thought in his heart, damn it, even if that muscular man doesn't scold the motherland of labor and capital, I won't let him go. Let this grandson kick my office workers. If I don't fire him, where will I put my face? Thinking of this, Li suddenly reacted and asked Greed eagerly, by the way, I've been talking for a long time. Angelo's grandson, is that guy here? No, he moved his personal belongings away yesterday when the team was on vacation. Li Tongfan was dumbfounded. Damn it, this muscular guy is so sensible. Don't you even give labor and management a chance to enjoy themselves. This situation is like when playing Dota. You have worked hard to save enough gold coins to buy a set of magical equipment, and you are about to go to the opponents who have abused you before to seek revenge and bloodletting, but suddenly you find that everyone has exiting the map at the same time. It's really an invincible depression like thunder and fire. The young head coach of Real Madrid, who failed to achieve the goal of having fun, turned his attention to the first team players, who were sweating profusely on the training ground point under the scorching sun. The superstars suddenly felt the wind blowing at their backs, like a dissatisfied prodigal. Li Tongfan stood on the sidelines and shouted loudly, in order to maintain sufficient physical strength for the game against Chelsea the day after tomorrow. Everyone is doing extra physical training today. TRAGEDY equals SEPARATING. LINE on September 11th. There are 2 days left before the first round of the UEFA Champions League group stage in the 2006-07 season. On the afternoon of the 13th, the Bernabeu will face their first opponent in the Champions League this season, the two consecutive Premier League champions. Overlord Chelsea. Chelsea's rise to prominence has been filled with controversy and money. One day, the idle Russian billionaire Comrade Abramovich had a sudden idea and decided to buy this traditional English football club. Afterwards, this Russian rich prostitute spent huge sums of money to introduce famous stars such as Argentinian wizard Veron, striker Crespo, Kemen, Irish fast-paced Madhav and other famous players to Chelsea, allowing it to transform from a team that was originally only competitive in England. The powerful team has suddenly become a powerful upstart that everyone in European football has heard of. It's a pity that Chelsea's former head coach Ranieri, known as the Football Tinker, has a bad old man image that really does not have the temperament of a champion. After taking over the team, he has been unable to bring the Russian billionaire what he has long expected. The championship trophy was finally kicked away by the dissatisfied Abramovich. It is said that Mr. Ranieri once made a very obscene comment about which type of Chinese women and European women are more beautiful, so as a patriot, Li Tongfan originally wanted to teach this aesthetic a lesson in the Champions League. Looking at the badly misplaced old man, who knew that Ranieri would leave more decisively than Angelo, Lioli's wish was in vain. Chelsea's current coach is the Portuguese handsome Mourinho, known as the Magic Bird. From the perspective of Lioli, a standard pseudo-fan, Mourinho is definitely the most talented young coach that has emerged in European football in recent times, bar none. The UEFA Cup, Domestic League and European Cup champions in the Porto era, a series of dazzling trophies became the capital for this Portuguese madman who dared to challenge the home team in front of Manchester United godfather Ferguson at Old Trafford, the theatre of dreams, to enter Stamford Bridge. The madman integrated his unruly and iron-blooded discipline into Chelsea, or thriving potential stock. As a result, the Premier League has evolved from a three-way competition between Manchester United, Arsenal and Liverpool to a Big Four competition for the world, each leading the way. The richest club owner who is willing to invest, the most individual and courageous head coach, the strictest discipline and the most solid defense. This is the first impression that Chelsea leaves on the football world now. So after Real Madrid's main coach Greed drew the Blues Chelsea in the Champions League draw, he kept complaining about his bad luck. Even Real Madrid fanatics like old Griezmann are so afraid of Chelsea, which shows that Mourinho's team is definitely very strong. And for Lee Tongfan, this is a great opportunity to confront his idol head on. Just like a little kid, everyone wants to prove themselves in front of the person they admire the most. Chelsea, handsome Mourinho, here I come. I'm going to crush you. Wahaha. On the afternoon of the 11th, Chelsea arrived in Madrid by plane. After arranging accommodation at the hotel, Chelsea immediately proposed to conduct field adaptation training at the Bernabeu, but all this was in the charge of the relevant officials of the Real Madrid club, so Lee Tongfan himself didn't know. Otherwise, Leoli would definitely carefully arrange a few spies to observe Mourinho's tactical arrangements and starting selections. At this time, Lee Tongfan was promoting the democratic centralism style, sitting in the tactical room to listen to the coaching staff's information analysis about Chelsea and discuss what tactics to use in the game. Chelsea under Mourinho's rule, of course, has the most dominant defense line. Terry and Carvalho, the two central defenders, are at their peak, and they are both FM 2007 system fierce men that Lee Tongfan covets. The left back Ashley Cole is a young boy with unlimited growth. He is experienced in defense and assists. He was known as the world's best left back before he moved to Chelsea. Although the right back Paulo Ferreira is slightly worse than Ashley Cole, he is very handsome and was also the right back in the best lineup of the Champions League. The main force in the defensive midfielder position is Essien, known as the Ghanaian Buffalo. Although this big black African man with a serious reversion to his ancestral appearance looks as stupid as a gorilla, his offensive and defensive abilities on the court are definitely the best waste of the new generation before Beckham's magic skills are perfected. Therefore, if the 3-4-3 crazy attack formation in the Spanish national derby is continued in the game against Chelsea, the Real Madrid superstars will definitely be beaten to a pulp by Chelsea's group of muscle men. You have to know that in the previous 2 seasons, Barcelona, with its unparalleled offensive power, has repeatedly lost to Chelsea's muscular forest-like backcourt defense system in the Champions League. Not to mention Real Madrid's unformed front-court attack system. At least Barcelona has a godfather Putin, which can make the arrogant magic bird throw down a sentence. Of Chelsea, who played with 11 players, has never lost to Barcelona with great resentment. Now it's Real Madrid's turn. Where can you ask Lee Tongfan to find the godfather point, since there is no godfather Putin who can cover the sky with one hand? For Real Madrid people, self-reliance is the only way out. The 3-4-3 crazy attack formation is not advisable. Finally, at Lee Tongfan's suggestion, the team returned to the 4-1-2-1-2 tactical system of the first 2 rounds of the league. After returning home, Leoli opened the FM 2007 system and started to simulate the game as usual. Chelsea's lineup in the system is Mourinho's best 4-3-3-2 wing tactics. The head is Czech goalkeeper Sech. The back line from right to left is Paul Ferreira, Carvalho, Terry and Ashley Cole. The midfielder Essien, the Iron Man Lampard and the German tank driver Ballack. The 2 wings Joe Cole and the Dutch Peter Pan Robben. The center position is the Ivorian Warcraft Drogba, who enjoys the reputation of African Andy Lau. On the bench sit the famous reserve warriors such as the little boy Kalau, the Cameroonian black big man Grim, and the Ukrainian nuclear warhead Shevchenko. This lineup is really luxurious and outrageous. After Lee Tongfan dispatched his troops according to the 4-1-2-1-2 tactics determined after discussing with the coaching staff today, the computer screen flashed, and the system pushed the game to officially start. I typed 1,000 words in the second half of last night, got up early this morning, and typed 1,000 words, and typed 1,000 words on the long distance bus. Finally, it's a little more than yesterday. Xiodeo is now uploading in a large-scale internet cafe with 20 pure screen computers in Shillitown, Anxi County. After that, I have to make bread and go home. The road today is very smooth. I should be home in half an hour. Tomorrow's update will be around 10 PM. Thank you for not scolding me. Chapter 56 to Cunning Foxes, One Old and One Young. The battle between young commanders. This is the tone set by the media for Chelsea's away trip to Real Madrid in Group A of the UEFA Champions League on September 13th! 43-year-old Jose Mourinho and 22-year-old Lee Tongfan. Although there is a 21-year age difference, they are both rare young men in the field of football coaches. For the media, Madman Mew's big mouth, that others can never predict what he will say next moment, is priceless. For them who like to create all kinds of alarmist news, every word and deed of Madman is a guarantee for newspapers. A best-selling brand. And now, another Madman Lee appears who is no less powerful than a madman. The world is more lively. Crazy Lee's arrogant words and deeds were fully reflected in less than 3 months of coaching Real Madrid. The column Dissatisfaction with Dictatorship, set up by Lee Tongfan and Marca, is like a news-making machine. So much so that there is such a law circulating in the Madrid media circle. If a sports journalist does not read Lee Tongfan's column 10 times a day, if he has memorized it several times, and knows it by heart, then he is definitely not a professional football reporter. Nowadays, when lunatics and madmen come together, this will definitely be an event as big as Mars hitting the Earth. Media personnel with adrenaline-fueled rushes gathered at the Bernabeu Stadium, where Madrid Sports City and Chelsea held pre-match training. They held up cards with various slogans like a demonstration, and demanded that Mourinho and Lee Tongfan be interviewed. Protest, we have the right to know, and the right to interview. A strange uncle with glasses and a beard was jumping up and down behind the barbed wire, strongly requesting an interview with Lee Tongfan, and handing over Lee Tongfan. A blonde beauty in a cool summer dress spoke righteously, and kicked the barbed wire with her bright red high heels. Hand over Lee Tongfan. Hand over Lee Tongfan. We want to interview. We want to interview. Madrid Sports City. Head coach Lee Tongfan's office, Alex Calderon's female translator, was smiling coquettishly and conveying the president's wishes to Leoli, who had a murderous look on his face. Dearly, the president hopes that you can take the time to communicate with friends from the media. My thoughts on the game. It's related to the club's image. Calderon, sir, are you really mentally retarded? After hearing this, Lee Tongfan couldn't help but curse. How do you share your thoughts about the game with the media? How can those bunch of wordsmiths who only know how to show off their rotten literary talents feel about the competition? Is it true that you want to find a legitimate excuse to arrange this coach, seeing that the lawyer chairman, who was obsessed with fame and money, sold out himself without hesitation for the sake of his reputation in the press? Lee Tongfan now felt an inhuman resentment that his little daughter-in-law had entrusted to him. Okay, I agree to hold a press conference, Leoli replied through gritted teeth, but it only takes 15 minutes, for the sake of the harmony of the club. Since the chairman has raised the issue to the level of Real Madrid club's image, it's okay to give him some face. On the other hand, if we continue to adopt an attitude of non-violence and non-cooperation, the unscrupulous media will come up with some sensational stories to vilify us before we know it. No problem, Alex said with a bright look. The press conference will be held at exactly 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I hope you will attend on time, at 1500 hours local time in Spain. The press conference was officially held in the Real Madrid press conference hall. When Lee Tongfan walked into the hall wearing a tight suit and leather shoes, and wearing super Tyrannosaurus sunglasses, everyone was stunned. Could it be that the future warrior has arrived? Blah blah blah. The flash of the camera is like white thunderbolts shining all over the sky, one after another, and the black microphone is like the barrel of the M5 sniper rifle handed over. If you don't say something, this group of people will be more paranoid than an old professor of archaeology. If the reporters are satisfied with something, then wait for the citizens of Madrid to read about your scandals and affairs in the 3-page tabloid the next day. After Lee Tongfan sat down, reporters began to eagerly throw out the sweet bait they had prepared. Many Real Madrid fans feel that you can easily defeat Mourinho's Chelsea at home. A reporter from Star newspaper took the lead. What do you think of this game, Mourinho? And you are both handsome young coaches with outstanding reputations. The strange uncle of Shooting magazine seduced Leoli seductively. What do you think of Mourinho, Didier Drogba thinks they can easily win a planned victory at the Bernabeu tomorrow night. Do you agree with his view? The reporter from L'Equipe began to stir up discord. Lee Tongfan sat on the rostrum, facing the ferocious prostitutes who were eager to pounce on them and take a few bites. He smiled slightly, took out a piece of manuscript paper from his pocket, shook it out, and read into the microphone. Mourinho is a great coach, Real Madrid is a great club, and tomorrow's game will be a tough game for both sides. The reporters were dumbfounded. While Lee Tongfan was reading, he was secretly amused in his heart. Do you want me to stumble? Wow, haha, you underestimate this head coach. I just want to use your mouth to show weakness to Marshall Mew. I hope that this crazy Portuguese who dares to give the middle finger to God will capsize in the gutter due to his carelessness. Mourinho's achievements are enough for all the head coaches to look up to. I'm his crazy fan. Lee Tongfan continued to perform on the rostrum. Chelsea is invincible. Real Madrid is invincible. Chelsea's defense is solid. Real Madrid impregnable. Chelsea is majestic. Madrid is majestic. The reporters vomited blood. This is not a press conference. It is simply a speech by this shameless man named Lee Tongfan. Even if reporters don't come to the press conference, they can write what Leo Lee said by thinking with their own toes. Someone has already stared hard at Real Madrid's young coach and started to leave. When Lee Tongfan finished reading the manuscript happily, he looked up and found that only Ruben, a reporter from Marca, and a young intern reporter from AS were left with their heads down and snoring. There were hundreds of other reporters. He had already disappeared without a trace, and the news hall, which was extremely crowded just now, was empty and echoing. Haha, a lustful smile appeared on the corner of Lee Tongfan's mouth. Let you bother the labor and management, and the labor and management will annoy you to death first. The female translator Alex looked at Lee Tongfan with widened eyes, as if looking at a ghost. She had seen a lot of shameless people, but this was the first time she had seen such a shameless one. Different from Lee Tongfan's active display of weakness, Mourinho upheld his true nature as a madman when interviewed by reporters. The major media got what they wanted from Madman Mew. Daily Mirror. Mourinho thinks Lee Tongfan is very young, but that's all. Kicker magazine. Real Madrid is just an insignificant episode on Mourinho's road to winning the Champions League. The madman vows to win the Big Ear Cup for the second time. The Sun Real Madrid coach Lee Tongfan is actually a fan of Mourinho. Jose is confident that the final score will be 0:3. Lee Tongfan believes that Drogba can score a goal at the Bernabeu night, and the Galaxy's defensive system will face a serious challenge from the Cote d'Ivoire Warcraft, regardless of whether the above are the actual words of Mew Mew, or whether the reporters are making trouble. In short, for the Real Madrid players, the small flame of anger in their hearts has been ignited, and the young ladies are gearing up one by one, vowing to make the crazy uncle pay the price. And at the same time, we should also let our head coach Lee Tongfan, who has seriously low self-confidence, see clearly the strength of his players, lest this soft-headed guy continue to grow other people's ambitions and destroy his own prestige. Lee Tongfan stood on the sidelines of the training ground and watched the hammers on the court working hard. He smiled sinisterly in his heart. The expected goal had been achieved. He was not showing weakness because he was afraid of Chelsea. On the one hand, he was trying to impress the madman with high ambitions. The uncle feels contempt, but on the other hand, it is just to provoke these hammers. You must know that the next game is different from the game against Barcelona on September 9th. The atmosphere of the Spanish Clasico never needs to be mobilized. Every Real Madrid player understands what mentality he should play with, but facing someone from another England Chelsea, the Super League team, may have weakened a bit in their hearts, so Leo Lee must use some strong medicine. This is a very childish psychological warfare, but it is just right to use it as Leo Lee. Of course, the Chelsea coach's arrogant remarks are also a kind of psychological warfare. In Madman Mew's view, the younger a person is, the more he cares about what his peers think of him. As long as the young Real Madrid coach is stirred into a crater that is about to erupt, he will be so eager. Lee Tongfan, who has proven himself, will definitely attack at all costs to score goals, and for Chelsea, the thing they are not afraid of the most is attacking. To cunning foxes, one old and one small. When Lee Tongfan returned to the office, he suddenly remembered another thing, so he picked up a pen and drafted another article, and quickly sent it to his own man, reporter Ruben Bucero, asking him to arrange for it to be published in Marca as soon as possible. specialized in treating all dissatisfaction column, and agreed to be reprinted by major media. The meat and bones thrown out by Laoli were quickly divided up by the swarming media, and soon everyone saw such an article with sinister intentions. Real Madrid head coach Tongfan said that there is a great fighter in the Blues camp who deserves his respect, and that is Ukrainian Shevchenko. The ability and professionalism of nuclear warheads are a role model for every player. With such a combination of players, to be in the starting lineup, if I were Mourinho, divorce. Plan. There is only one positive center position in Muku Ungren's 4-3-3 system. Who will be the starter between Warcraft and nuclear warhead? I heard that Chelsea's wealthy owner Roman Abramovich is very fond of the Ukrainian nuclear warhead, but the crazy uncle doesn't seem to be too cold. The human heart is the most delicate thing. Plant a small seed, and it will soon bear fruits that you can't expect. DISAPPOINTING. The bosses, we still need to pave the way for today. I will start writing about the competition tomorrow, and there should be more updates, but Ziodeo strongly recommends that you watch it around 10 o'clock in the evening. Chapter 57. Busy Uncles and John of ESPN. On September 13th, at 19 p.m. local time in Madrid, Spain, one of the highlights of Group A of the UEFA Champions League, the away match between the Premier League giants Chelsea and Real Madrid officially kicked off. The referee Alexander Sandro blew the whistle to start the game on time. The visiting team Chelsea kicked off first. African and ELAU Didier Drogba knocked the ball back and handed it to the feet of the Blues magic lamp Frank Lampard. After receiving the ball, Lampard directly passed the ball to the right rib of Real Madrid's penalty area near the center circle. There, the 21-year-old Dutch Peter Pan Robben, who has obvious signs of premature aging on his head, has already moved forward, gently removed the ball with his toes, and faked a change of direction to shake away the Real Madrid left winger who came up to press him. Heavy artillery. King Roberto Carlos cut in laterally and hit the goal directly. Peter Pan Robben's series of movements were fast and fast. After continuous high-speed weight changes, he easily opened the gap between the Real Madrid defenders. Fortunately, the head coach Casillas reacted quickly and flicked the ball sideways. The ball rushed over and poked the bottom line with his fingertips. Less than 30 seconds into the game, Chelsea almost captured the Santiago Bernabeu Stadium with the simplest coordination. Many fans in the stands have not yet warmed up the seats under their butts, but the Blues have already won a corner kick. It was only then that ESPN commentator Uncles and John began to explain the starting lineups of the two teams to the fans in front of the TV. Good evening, viewers. What you are watching now is Group A Blue of the 2006-2007 UEFA Champions League group stage. Live broadcast of Chelsea's away game against Real Madrid. I will introduce to you the starting lineup of the two teams first. Danger. Robben will shoot. The ball blocked the bottom line. At the beginning of the game, Chelsea, the blue team, took the lead and won a corner kick. Wow. Looking at the slow motion, Real Madrid's defenders were obviously not focused on this ball. Facing a team like Chelsea, any mistake is fatal. Different from the clear and straightforward commentary style of CCTV5 football commentators, ESPN's Uncles and John, although his voice is a bit broken, is full of passion in his commentary and has less scruples in words, so he has won the hearts of many fans. Love point at the beginning of the game. Uncles and John introduce the starting lineups of the two teams as usual. As a result, before the old man's opening remarks could begin, Chelsea's wonderful attack interrupted his train of thought. We saw that the head coach of Real Madrid was very excited on the sidelines. Angry, it seems that Tongfan is extremely dissatisfied with the team's mistake. Chelsea's corner kick was taken by Lampard. John Terry and Drogba, who are very capable of heading the ball, have already entered the Real Madrid penalty area. The ball kicked off point forward. Drogba headed the ball back. The ball hit the crossbar and went out of the baseline. Players from the two teams hugged each other in the Real Madrid penalty area. After being pulled down by the opponent's player, Joel Luca was almost trampled into Croatian-style meat by the crowd. Slow motion playback showed that it was the one who finally grabbed the header. Chelsea captain Terry, Blues captain John Terry grabbed the ball and Drogba hit it forward and back. Wow. Cannavaro went up. At the beginning of the game, Chelsea, the away team, seemed more aggressive. Indeed, as Uncles and John said, Chelsea already had two extremely threatening shots in less than 3 minutes. If it were not for the help of Saint Cassie and the crossbar, I'm afraid that the score on the field would have become 0-2. Amid the exclamations of more than 60,000 Real Madrid fans, head coach Lee Tongbian stood on the edge of the court and yelled at the Real Madrid defenders. There is a reason why Leo Lee is so excited. When arranging tactics in the locker room before the game, Lee Tongfan repeatedly reminded Joel, Luke and Ramos to concentrate on several hammers, especially in the first 10 minutes before the game. Because by watching the Chelsea game video, Leo Lee found that the opponent's goals generally occurred at the beginning of the game, near the end of the first half, and during stoppage time. Who knew that these muscular gangsters didn't even listen to what they said? That's why Lee Tongfan was so excited when Robben took his first shot. This feeling is like a mathematics teacher repeatedly emphasizing that a certain question about trigonometric functions must be tested before an exam. However, when marking the paper, he found that none of his more than 100 students could solve the original question. Damn it, if you continue like this, labor and management will buy all these hammers at a low price in the legendary Shanxi small coal kiln to dig coal, and have a good experience of the miserable life of manual workers in a harmonious socialist society. After maybe it was Lee Tongfan's wake up call that had an effect. Maybe it was Leo Lee who shook his body and unleashed the full level of recovery and awakening technique. The hammers on Real Madrid's defense finally performed at their normal level and gradually moved back to the field unfavorable situation. Uncles and John tirelessly continued his unfinished business, continue to introduce the starting lineups of both sides to the audience. The home team Real Madrid goalkeeper Casillas, the back line from left to right is Brazilian Roberto Carlos, Italian national team captain Cannavaro, Croatian rookies Joel Luca and Sergio Ramos, midfielder David Beckham, and the forwards on both sides are Spanish winger Real on loan from Arsenal and Argentinian teenager Higuain, attacking midfielder Guti, Dutchman Ruud van Nistelrooy and alien Ronaldo, who scored 8 goals in 3 games. This season, Real Madrid captain Raul was injured in the game against Barcelona and was suspended for 3 weeks. Robinho cut his right arm in training and missed the game. Therefore, Leo Lee replaced the Brazilian young shot Higuain. White Fang's handsome boy's position, sitting on the Real Madrid bench are Marcelo with Gautam hair, Fernando Gago, the Redondo second with long flowing hair, Mohamed Diarra, a Malian waistcoat, and Klue from Croatia. Husband second Modric and a group of second generations of the stadium. The visiting team Blues Chelsea are attacking from left to right on the field. Uncles and John continued. Chelsea's starting lineup, goalkeeper Czech, goalkeeper Petr Cech, and the back line from left to right are the players who just transferred from Arsenal this season. Here comes Ashley Cole, Portuguese Carvalho, captain Terry and Dutchman Borrellas, midfielder Makelele, midfielders Essien, Ballack and Lampard. Forwards Drogba and the Netherlands. Peter Pan. Robben. Have I coded a little more today? Chapter 1. Chapter 58. There is only one glutton in the world. In this game, Mourinho unexpectedly abandoned his best 4-3-3 formation and arranged a 4-1-3-2 starting lineup. Drogba, the African Andy Lau, was at the forefront of the forward line, like a nail house who could not be driven away, firmly controlling the high altitude balls in the front court. Robben's running position was very free, and he looked more like a winger who kept changing sides and pulling left and right, which made the Real Madrid defense line a mess. Midfielders Lampard, Ballack and Essien are all-rounders who can attack and defend, plus the pure defensive midfielder French old man Makelele. Mourinho's 4-1-3-2 formation is generally more defensive. Before the game, Mourinho, who was aggressive, sent out such a strong defense and weak attack starting lineup, which was beyond the expectations of all experts, but it did not hide it from Lee Tongfan, who has the FM 2007 simulation system. Leo Lee simulated the match against Chelsea twice. In the first simulation, Chelsea's formation was 4-3-3. Drogba scored a hat-trick for Chelsea, and Shevchenko, who came on as a substitute, added icing on the cake. Van Nistelrooy scored 2 goals for Real Madrid, and Ronaldo, who was closely guarded, scored the 3rd goal for Real Madrid in the injury time. The final score was 3-4, and Real Madrid lost the game. After that, Leoli tried to play a confusing psychological game with Mourinho, and then simulated again. Chelsea in the system really arranged a different formation from the first time. The simulation result this time was quite satisfactory to Lee Tongfan. Maybe Lee Tongfan's naive remarks did not have the lethality of Manchester United godfather Ferguson's hairdryer to make opponents timid before the battle, but it really affected the simulation results of FM 2007. This was verified in the Spanish national derby with Barcelona. At present, it seems that the words and deeds of the player Lee Tongfan have a certain influence on the operation of the game. While other people do not have such ability, the game continued with the ups and downs of Uncles and John's commentary. After enduring Chelsea's three-pronged attack at the beginning, Real Madrid's offense improved under the arrangement of Beckerman. Guti point in the 25th minute. The high-altitude ball headed by the Italian bald man Cannavaro fell at Beckham's feet. The English heartthrob made an accurate 40-meter-long pass from the backcourt and sent the ball to the front of the alien Ronaldo, who was sprinting at high speed. Unfortunately, the fat man was strongly interfered by the pull, drag, hug, and kick four-trick combo of the Blues captain Terry during the flight process. The last shot was lifted by the highly focused goalkeeper Sech. In the 30th minute, Makalel pulled Guti, who had gotten rid of his defense in the backcourt of his own side, while winning the first yellow gem war god card reward of this game. He also sent a direct free kick in the front court with an excellent position for Real Madrid. Beckham's ultimate move crescent blade brushed the left post of the Blues goal and flew out of the bottom line, causing the Czech goalkeeper, who flew out to attack, to break out in a cold sweat while performing rhinoceros looking at the moon to look up at the flight path of the football. In the 37th minute, Ronaldo took the ball near the center circle and made a wonderful long distance attack, which made more than 5,000 Chelsea fans who followed the visiting team to the Bernabeu to watch the game almost spit out their hearts. It's a pity that the fat man was very unlucky today. The final shot was blocked by Terry, who returned to defense in time and hit the bottom line. In the 40th minute of the first half, Real Madrid had 10 shots, 6 of which hit the goal frame, and the ball possession rate exceeded Chelsea by 15 percentage points, and the number of fouls was 18 fewer than the opponent. In order to stop Real Madrid's attack, 4 players including Makalel have received the yellow sapphire God of War card. If these guys are more excited, they are fully capable of applying for 2 yellow sapphire God of War cards before the midfield, combining them into a ruby God of War card with the effect of instant ascension, and leaving the Santiago Bernabeu as they wish. Although neither team has scored a goal so far, the home team Real Madrid's series of dazzling front court cooperation and the super performance of suppressing the Premier League overlord Chelsea in the half court for a long time have made the more than 60,000 Real Madrid fans in the stands very satisfied. The cheers are higher and higher whenever a Real Madrid player touches the ball. The applause is as festive and warm as the sound of firecrackers in thousands of households during the Chinese New Year. The Blues Chelsea players were treated in the exact opposite way. The boos from 60,000 mouths at the same time could have shaken down a Boeing 747 Super Jumbo jet flying in the sky. More than 5,000 Chelsea fans who came from afar used all their strength to create various effects of supporting the visiting team, just like a drop of blue ink dripping into the turbulent Mediterranean Sea, which was ruthlessly diluted without a trace in the blink of an eye. In the south stand of the Bernabeu, the most loyal Real Madrid fans once again raised a flag to support Coach Lee Tongfan. There is only one good for nothing in the world. You are our pride. The team won all 3 games in the first 3 rounds of the league, especially in the Spanish national derby, when Lee Tongfan insisted on attacking away from home with one less player and finally achieved a dreamlike reversal, making the young coach instantly a hero to the fans. All the doubts before the season were like the remaining snow in early spring, which melted away under the bright sunlight. Fans are like this. Their demands are very high, but they are also very simple. They don't care whether you are from China or a football desert that you have never heard of, whether you are a 20-year-old rookie with no experience in the world or a 70-year-old with a lot of experience. Old fox, as long as you can bring them victory one after another, then everyone will accept you, love you, sing for you, cheer for you, and Lee Tongfan has completely achieved this now. Real Madrid needs victory, and Leoli will bring them victory. Real Madrid needs blood, courage and beautiful football, and Leoli insists on holding high the offensive banner and scoring high scores one after another. Contest this is the performance of a phenomenal coach, and all Real Madrid fans are now thankful that their various blind protests before the season did not drive away this amazing Chinese young man. Although it has only been less than 3 months, but all Real Madrid fans seem to have seen the team's float celebrating the championship. There are even fans in the stands singing a song dedicated to Lee Tongfan, and the content is very awesome. There is only one loser in the world. You are our madman. Bring us victory. You are full of courage. Crush all enemies. Forward. Madrid. Go ahead. Go ahead. Lee Tongfan has a black head. Apart from Rice Bucket and Madman, can he have a more elegant nickname? Of second update. Overall, it is only 1000 more than yesterday. Try to update more tomorrow. Thanks to Zizantar Daddy, Jiushan Zhi Yan Wu, Shifang Invincible Evil Shadow, Death Knight Captain, Zhang Xiaoqi, Book Friends 20,125,297, Shadow, and Ada Death Squadron for their awards. Congratulations to the captain of the Necromancer Knight for his successful return from his business trip. There will definitely be an update around 10 PM. Tomorrow night. Chapter 59. The front wave was beaten to death on the beach by the back wave. Behind the fence on the side of the court, Chinese reporters felt a sense of pride. Fan Zhuang squeezed in among the reporters, holding a high-powered camera and aiming it at Lee Tongfan on the coaching bench. He quickly captured the commanding expression and body language of this world-famous university classmate and prepared a plan in his mind. He must record this scene, this song that sounds unmusical but exciting. Maybe this is the first song dedicated to the Chinese in the top 5 European leagues. What a pity. CCTV Sports Channel did not get the broadcasting rights of the Champions League. Otherwise this scene, that made all Chinese fans excited, would definitely be transmitted to China as soon as possible. In the first half of the game, Real Madrid still firmly suppressed Chelsea in the half, and the tide-like attack seemed to be ready to break the blue dam in front of Sech at any time. The singing of Real Madrid fans was still loud. Every time Lee Tongfan rushed to the side of the court to direct Real Madrid players, there would be warm applause from the stands. But Lee's expression became more and more serious, because the time for scoring was coming. At this time, the most special one of Chelsea club, Mourinho finally changed his previous leisurely expression of sitting on the diote, left the coaching seat, and came to the sidelines listening to the song given by Real Madrid fans to the young man next to him. Mourinho disdainfully put his hands into the pockets of his Armani windbreaker, shrugged, and made a mysterious gesture to the Chelsea players on the field. After seeing Mourinho's gesture, Chelsea players immediately retreated to their own half. Makelele retreated to the penalty area. Ballack, Lampard and Essien returned to the penalty area line, and the two side defenders Bowler, Rouse and Ashley Cole also slowly gathered to the center. Only the Ivorian Warcraft Drogba, who is known as the African Andy Lau, and the Dutch glass flying man Robben were left in the front court. This formation is infinitely close to the legendary 1-0-0-0 formation created by Chinese netizens with countless efforts. The game is about to end in less than 70 seconds. Does Chelsea want to keep the draw in the first half? Real Madrid's golden wolf Guti, who got the ball in the front court, found that Chelsea's players were still tightly shrinking in their own penalty area. After passing the ball back and forth with Beckham several times, he looked up and observed his teammates who were responding. There was no good passing route. If he passed the ball blindly, the opponent would get the ball. Anyway, the game is almost over, so he might as well take a long shot. So Guti gently pushed the ball sideways, posed a cool pose, and shot it. The round ball was hit by a huge force and a dent was made. Then it instantly rushed out from the feet of the Golden Wolf, like a wounded bird fleeing in panic, flying towards the Chelsea goal. Got it. This is Guti's first feeling after shooting. Some star players will instantly have a wonderful feeling in their hearts after shooting. This is a kind of prediction after the coordination of body and mind. Excellent shooters can even know in advance whether they can score after shooting, and Golden Wolf Guti now has such a wonderful feeling. This ball can go in. There is no Chelsea player defending Guti. Uncles and John's already heartbreaking voice suddenly rose an octave. Long shot. This shot is beautiful. What a pity. Why did the uncle say it was a pity? Because the Real Madrid captain's shot with good speed and angle was predicted in advance by the 197 centimeters tall Chelsea goalkeeper Sech, and was incredibly firmly grasped in his hands. The Czech goalkeeper used his actual actions to tell Golden Wolf Guti, "This ball really can't go in." Fact. The Golden Wolf shook his hands angrily and couldn't help but burst out an international common modal particle. This time his luck was really bad. The other players of Real Madrid also looked at the Czech big man in disbelief. Did this kid take stimulants before the game? Including this save, the Czech has saved at least 8 high quality shots that Real Madrid must score in this game, just when the Real Madrid fans in the stands were still holding their heads in regret for this shot. Chelsea's snow white fangs that had been deeply hidden finally showed their ferociousness. After receiving Guti's shot, Sech did not delay even 0.01 seconds, and after 2 or 3 steps of running, he threw the ball to attack. The ball drew a fatal arc in the air for Real Madrid and landed accurately on the head of African Andy Lau. At this time, the only central defender of Real Madrid who stayed in the backcourt to defend, the bald handsome Cannavaro, was like a dwarf next to Snow White in front of the 190 cm tall black man Drogba. With no lethality, Drogba didn't even jump and gently rubbed it with his dark forehead, and the football landed comfortably in front of Robin, the sprinting Peter Pan. Before the ball landed, Robin poked it with his toes and waded 7 or 8 meters away, then began to compete with the chasing Real Madrid heavy gunner Roberto Carlos in speed. The gossiping fans in front of the TV and in the stands were excited. The former left-wing master and the current Dutch flying man, 2 top stars known for their speed, who would win. The result was that Robin, the young wave behind the Yangtze River, easily scared Carlos to death on the beach. The distance between the two people actually widened from 5 or 6 meters at the beginning to 7 or 8 meters. The ruthless carving knife of time has corroded Roberto Carlos's thick thighs and calves. This scene is a bit funny and a bit sad. The Dutch Peter Pan's eyes are already clear, and there is only one obstacle left. Real Madrid boss Santi Cazorla, who has blocked all kinds of awesome shooters' single-handed goals countless times, since he was still 6 or 7 meters away from one of Real Madrid's fastest chasing players. Robin slowed down slightly, stuck the football under his feet, looked up at Casillas' position, and made a move to the left. He made a fake move by changing direction and passing the goalkeeper, then suddenly took off his foot and pushed the shot into the lower right corner of the goal. The battle-tested Cassie shot his body to the left, and at the same time, he hurriedly extended his sexy thigh that has attracted countless Spanish female fans to the right. Boom. The ball flying close to the turf was unexpectedly blocked by Saint Cassie. It bounced high in an arc and slowly dropped toward the baseline. Sech got the ball, threw the ball, and launched an attack. Drogba, look at this ball. Robin formed a single shot. Robin shot. Incredibly, Casillas blocked the ball with his leg. Another Chelsea player rushed over. Danger. This goal is scored. Uncles and John shouted. Drogba. The first half is about to end. Real Madrid relaxed against Chelsea's most dangerous man, Warcraft. Drogba's marking. The Ivory Coast striker scored with a supplementary shot of chapter 60. Who deserves to sing and cheer? Replaying the camera, after Casillas subconsciously blocked Robin's shot with his legs, African and Lau Drogba rushed in from behind and scored a goal at a small angle before the ball flew out of the baseline. As the commentator Uncles and John said, Real Madrid's defense against Drogba in the first half was only relaxed for 30 seconds, and this all-pervasive bloodthirsty monster seized the opportunity and hit it deadly. The Bernabeu Stadium was suddenly silent at night. No one expected that the Blues Chelsea, who were suppressed by Real Madrid for more than 40 minutes in the first half, and were shaky and powerless to fight back, actually broke the deadlock on the field 30 seconds before halftime. This was a simple cooperation that couldn't be simpler. The goalkeeper threw the ball in the backcourt, the forward coordinated, and then inserted, and shot to score. If it weren't for Casillas' heroic performance, the Dutch little flying man Robin's first shot could have blasted the door of Real Madrid. Real Madrid fans in the stands watched the central screen replay the goal process over and over again, holding their heads in confusion. We lost the ball. Looking at Drogba, the Warcraft hugging his teammates tightly on the field. Fan Zhuang felt a bad feeling in his heart. At present, it seems that Lee Tongfan, who has just won the trust of the fans, has been defeated by the shrewd Portuguese old coach Mourinho. Chelsea's sudden contraction before the midfield was clearly to attract all the Real Madrid players and then quickly launch a counter-attack. This is Mourinho's football philosophy. Simple but deadly point: this madman never cares about technical statistics, ball possession, number of shots and other bullshit data. In his opinion, only real goals are the only standard, the standard of victory, only victory theory. Looking at the more than 60,000 Real Madrid fans in the stands, who were just singing praises for their rookie coach, but are now speechless, Mourinho coquettishly opened his Armani windbreaker and waved his fist to protest to the fans of the home team. Look who deserves to be praised, not the Chinese rookie who won 3 games by chance, but me, Jose Mourinho. The madman raised his hands to the sky and posed a dominant pose, just like he did at Camp Nou, after defeating Barcelona last season and the season before last, ignoring the boos and curses of the opposing fans. He is the only one in the world. Mourinho's cool pose killed many reporters' films. People are all focusing on this temporary winner. Except Fan Zhuang. The figure that appeared in Fan Zhuang's camera lens is still Lee Tongfan. Old Lee, standing next to the coach's seat, shook his head and smiled helplessly. This expression made the reporter Fan feel nervous. Is he going to admit defeat to this arrogant Portuguese? It shouldn't be. According to my understanding, this college classmate is definitely a typical representative of a duck with a hard mouth after being cooked. Smelly and hard, a wretched master who can bring the RQ spirit to the master level. How can he admit defeat so easily? Why is that? Others certainly don't know the depression in Leoli's heart. The goal of African Andy Lau announced that Leoli's conspiracy to provoke the FM 2007 system with ulterior motives failed again. In the locker room before the game, Lee Tongfan had already reminded the Hammers that there might be a goal before halftime. Who knew that these damned boys and handsome men actually took my words as fart? His uncle, a blazing mountain of fire broke out in Leoli's heart. Lee Tongfan decided to sacrifice the angry little universe and blast these useless people during the halftime break. It seems necessary to launch a rectification movement in the first team to improve the organizational and disciplinary awareness of these Hammers. After the 110 celebration of Chelsea's soldiers, kick off again in the center circle. Less than 10 seconds after the Real Madrid striker touched the ball, referee Alexander Pedro blew the whistle to end the first half. Looking at the murderous head coach on the sidelines, the Real Madrid superstars felt their heartbeats speed up and walked to the locker room with their tails between their legs, exchanging good luck looks from time to time. The Real Madrid players quickly returned to the locker room. Uncle Zhang decided to express his own views during the halftime break. For Lee Tongfan, the second half of the game will become more severe. Facing a team like Chelsea, the possibility of achieving a big reversal is very small. Uncle Zhang's words spoke the voice of all Real Madrid fans. Chelsea is such a desperate team. As long as it takes the lead, then this group of blue muscle men will definitely become the nightmare of all teams. Mourinho is definitely the ancestor of playing defensive counter-attack tactics. At this moment, the Real Madrid fans in the stands should sing "Where is the Road" amid the silence of more than 60,000 Real Madrid fans and the celebration of more than 5,000 Chelsea fans. Lee Tongfan was the last one to return to the locker room. The home team's locker room was in the south, as quiet as a graveyard, while the visiting team Chelsea's locker room was filled with laughter. Contrast, Lee Tongfan walked towards the Real Madrid locker room step by step. When he finished walking through the more than 60-meter player tunnel, the flame of anger in his heart had been slowly suppressed by him bit by bit. Blindly getting angry can't solve the problem. The goal lost at the last moment of the first half was also a huge blow to the Hammers. As an excellent head coach, you cannot be swayed by your own personal feelings. Good job, guys. The first words spoken by Lee Tongfan and Mourinho after entering their respective locker rooms were surprisingly consistent. The difference was that the Chelsea players in the left locker room let out a burst of lively laughter, while the handsome boys from Real Madrid in the south locker room raised their heads and looked at their head coach in surprise. Lee Tongfan clapped his hands vigorously, and the clear applause was like a drum. "Hey, guys, look up. You see, you have beaten the proud English people to the ground, and that goal was just an accident. Big way, I'm not talking about you. You are our accomplice. The ladies burst into laughter. Robert Carlos, who was instantly killed by the Dutch Peter Pan at the last moment of the first half, couldn't help but raise his bald head full of depression, smiled and patted the England accomplice Beckham sitting next to him. Grad was a little surprised to find that the originally oppressive atmosphere was completely gone after Lee Tongfan's little joke. If you are interested in reading, please read it around 10 o'clock in the evening. There will definitely be an update, just sooner rather than later. Bowen thank book friends 0807062348282005. A dust is enough. Z's in his dad. Jian Fengkui. Yijing Zhiing. Mac Manaman. Creation. Public Security Officer. Windcrack. Zio Koye. And the reward for dismembering a dead baby, because Ziodeo is always updating in the internet. Cafe. I can only come here at night. Ziodeo will read everyone's opinions. Ziodeo has returned home and is slowly finding his status. Try to make no less than 4,000 per day because there are a lot of things to do in my hometown. Chapter 61 Rogba and Robin, each with their own misfortunes. Same as before, continue to attack in the second half. After Lee Tongfan successfully reversed the atmosphere in the locker room, he began to arrange the so-called tactics. Drogba is a dangerous man, Willander. You have to deal with him in the second half. It is best not to let this elephant get the first point, and if he drops back to get the ball, follow him. The young Croatian young lady Joel Luca, who was nominated by Leoli for pointing, nodded seriously, while the other hammers looked at each other and smiled. Sure enough, they were still attacking. From the time this man became the head coach until now, he has never chosen to defend and counter-attack in a game. If he said that he played steadily in the second half, he would be damned. At the same time, Madman Mew in the North locker room also set the tone for the second half of Chelsea's Blues game. You did a good job. I have nothing to add. If I have to add something, I need you to be more effective when counter-attacking. Be bold. Be fierce on defense. That's right. The movements should be fiercely. Tongfan looked at the handsome men and made the request with a fierce face. Drogba leaves it to Fabio and Vedran. As for the other dangerous man Robin, if this kid still dares to show off his little butt like he did in the first half, I suggest you just tackle his legs. I heard that this little guy named Deluo was easily injured. I think this will make him more honest. Grad looked confused. Is Rob's surname Eluo? Arian, you have done a very good job so far. On the other side, Mourinho praised Robin's performance in the first half, but if you want to score a goal, you have to be more decisive in the second half. Is there any problem? The Dutchman, who still didn't know Leoli's sinister intentions, was full of confidence, and a smile broke out on his prematurely aging face. I will go around everyone like a wooden stake and send the ball into the empty goal. David, try to send the ball to the left side of the opponent. We have to open a gap on the opponent's right back. Borrellas. This Dutch piranha turns slowly and has such a hot personality that I like it very much. Lee Tongfan said with a look on his face he looked shamelessly at Riaz and Higuain. In the second half, you have to switch positions more often and pass him if you have the chance. If he dares to use small tricks, do you two understand? The two dignified young ladies were instigated by Leoli and nodded even more shamelessly to show that they fully understood. I need the fullbacks to shrink a little closer to the center. If you can't intercept the opponent's ball at the first time, don't rush. Although Real Madrid's two wingers have good speed and dribbling, their passing skills are not good. Mew the madman looked at the four kings on his backline after destroying the opponent's cross and passing the two balls to the feet of Didier and Arian. That will be another opportunity for us to counter-attack. After going down, try to hit the ball horizontally to the edge of the penalty area. David, Guti, when attacking, you have to be more determined when advancing forward and shoot when you have the chance. I don't believe they are so lucky every time. Lee Tongfan clapped his hands angrily. Our principle is press harder and shoot harder. Before Leoli could finish his sentence, the hammers added the next sentence in unison. Lee Tongfan raised his thumb with joy. They fouled at the front of the penalty area. We need a direct free kick. If they hesitate, take a long shot immediately. The 15-minute intermission went by in a flash, and the second half kicked off with Alexander Pedro's whistle. In the first 5 minutes of the game, Real Madrid still held the blue team Chelsea in the half court as usual, while Chelsea relied on the superior personal abilities of strikers Drogba and Robben to obtain several sporadic shooting opportunities. However, since Real Madrid has strengthened its defense of the two, the threat posed is not great. African and ELAU Drogba found that the opponent's number 6 big man named Joel Luca was sticking to his back like a piece of brown candy from the beginning of the second half. It seemed that the goal in the first half let the young Chinese head coach of Real Madrid start to take himself seriously. In the past 5 minutes, due to Real Madrid's reckless attack, Chelsea also got many opportunities to counter-attack. However, after the long pass reached the front court, Joel Luca would grab the first landing to clear the ball. The Croatian young boy firmly kept in mind the requirements of head coach Tongfan and dutifully worked as a bodyguard for African and ELAU, making full use of his 1.94 meter tall man and outstanding speed, jumping, head kicking and kicking. Kick away any football that dares to attack Drogba. Regarding the information about this Real Madrid centre-back named Joel Luca, Drogba has already seen it in the tactical preparation before the game. In his view, although this young man who miraculously joined Real Madrid from the Croatian league and firmly established himself as the team's main central defender is now one of the hottest defenders in European football, it does not mean that this rookie to be better than his teammates Terry and Carvalho. You must know that in normal internal training, even Terry and Carvalho may not have the upper hand in front of him, but now the Cote d'Ivoire monsters are starting to get a little surprised. This guy's no shorter than me, and his bounce and speed are not slow. What's even more exaggerated is that the strength he is proud of cannot completely gain the upper hand in front of Real Madrid's number 6. Difficult guy. Is he really a rookie who jumped out of the Croatian prefectural league? Drogba finally began to seriously deal with this young central defender who was underestimated by himself. Drogba has the same feeling as Robben, another Chelsea star. Peter Pan is also in a state of disarray. At the beginning of the second half, the Dutch Peter Pan, who was praised by Madman Mew in the midfield locker room, played more freely and relaxedly. As Real Madrid was eager to equalize the score, the defensive midfielder Beckham and the two wings Riaz and Higuain pressed harder, leaving Robben with a wider sprint space. When I jumped up and let the birds fly in the sky, I was shocked to find that there were sharks in the sea and eagles in the sky. In the 10th minute of the second half, Peter Pan had a total of 6 takeoff opportunities, but without exception, they were all tackled 3 times, twice and once by Roberto Carlos and Sergio Ramos. Pull and strangle mercilessly, watching his beloved general being brutally knocked to the ground by the Real Madrid defenders again and again. The referee Alexander Pedro only gave Robert Carlos and Ramos to shameless criminals verbal warnings. Even the Gem God of War card was not distributed. Chelsea Madman Mew screamed and jumped on the sidelines, and almost rushed onto the court, and took out the red and yellow cards from Pedro's pocket to enforce the law on his behalf. I'm in a hurry today, so I'm a little late in updating. Sorry. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62, The Yellow Card Battle. It is a pity that the madman ignored that the game was played at the Bernabeu, the home stadium of Real Madrid. The legendary artifact home whistle exerted some power as usual. Therefore, instead of having the effect he expected, Coach Mew's protest did not have the effect he expected. He earned himself a warning from the fourth official and waves of merciless boos from Real Madrid fans. Only then did Mew Kuangren realize that the young head coach of the other team was extremely cunning. But looking at the score on the scoreboard, and then looking at Real Madrid's fruitless attacks on the court, Madman Mew curled his lips in disdain. Such childish foul tactics cannot change the outcome of the game. If the game continues like this, Real Madrid can only collapse. In fact, Kuangren Mew's idea is not unreasonable. The tactic of blindly using fouls to prevent the opponent's attack is definitely comparable to the Kantang sect's useless skill 7 injury boxing. As the saying goes, 7 injuries in one practice. All 7 will be injured. In the 15th minute of the game, Roberto Carlos, who was easily beaten to death on the beach by Peter Pan Robin in the first half, adhered to the shameless passing the ball, but not killing tactics of head coach Lee Tongbiam, and hit the ball with an attack power of up to 100. Super scissor kick sent Robin, who was running with the ball, into the warm embrace of Chelsea team Dr. Mr. Paul. The angry Chelsea players swarmed up and surrounded the referee Alexander Pedro, insisting that Roberto Carlos, whose attack power exceeded the limit of the earthly Bernabeu, flew away, while the Real Madrid players who followed closely behind were obviously dissatisfied. I object to this. Real Madrid assistant coach Greed also rushed to the sideline with a nervous look on his face and told the fourth official that his player definitely did not foul intentionally. Opportunity. Robin broke through with the ball very fast. Robert Carlos faced the rushing Robin. This was the second chance for the two to face off. Can Carlos guard against the Dutch Peter Pan? Ouch, it's a foul. Uncles and John's mellow explanation was still so enchanting. The sleepy fans in front of the TV screen were invigorated by the uncle's excitement. Roberto Carlos made a brutal tackle. It ended Chelsea's attack. Let's see how the referee decides. It might be a red card. Fans from both sides in the stands also maintained a rare silence, waiting fearfully for Alexander Pedro's final verdict. At this moment, there was only one person maintaining a calm superior image. When the broadcast camera swept across the Real Madrid coaching bench, people were surprised to find that the loser, Lee, had a happy face, as if something interesting was about to happen. Yellow card. Alexander Pedro showed a yellow card to Robert Carlos. Uncle Zanjan, who was well informed, quickly gave the most professional explanation to the fans. Look in slow motion. Carlos committed a foul this time. Although he was fierce, he stopped his kick at the last moment. The referee Pedro was very close and could see clearly. From a technical point of view, giving him a yellow card was justified. After seeing Pedro's penalty clearly, the applause of more than 60,000 Real Madrid fans easily suppressed the boos of more than 5,000 Chelsea fans. Greed, who was chatting with the fourth official with a sincere face just now, was also very happy. He unkindly performed a Sicilian opera face change, put on a dismissive expression and turned away. Under the influence of wretched people, honest people also learn bad things. After that, the game continued for less than 30 seconds. Lee Tongfan replaced the yellow-robed Roberto Carlos with Marcelo, while Nuku Angren replaced the big-headed Shota Jocko, who is known as the most skilled among English players. I replaced Peter Pan Robin, who was unable to continue the game. At 62 minutes and 44 seconds of the game, Robin and Carlos, the new enemies in this game, both ended the game. The difference is that Roberto Carlos exchanged power with Marcelo in a lively manner amidst the applause of the fans, and was hugged by Leoli with a lewd smile on his face, while poor classmate Robin was supported by the team doctor. Went directly into the locker room to apply ice. Looking at the limping Robin, Leoli lowered his head and made a cross on his chest. Killing tactics are too immoral. If you don't do it well, you will be disabled and retired or something. You must never use it again in the future. You must accumulate virtue. In the 70th minute of the game, the scene was still Real Madrid beating up their opponents, but Chelsea, the blue team, made a cold counter-attack. But both sides were on guard, so the score remained at 0-1, with Chelsea leading by 1 goal away from home. The situation is becoming increasingly unfavorable for Real Madrid. The fans sang the Real Madrid team song Come On. After Madrid, they suddenly sang in unison the song of the loser in the first half. That was a bit like a shout. There is only one loser in the world. There is only one loser in the world. You are our madman. Bring us victory. You are full of courage and crush all enemies. Forward, Madrid. Forward, our madman. Forward, the victorious loser from China. It was first sung by the fans in the south stand. They waved slogans in support of Lee Tongfan and stood up and shouted loudly. Gradually, all Real Madrid fans joined in. At the most critical moment of the team, the fans chose to believe in their own initiative coach. In the Spanish El Clasico 4 days ago, the same situation of falling behind happened, and it was even worse. At that time, the fans were doubtful and confused, but in the end, the magical young head coach led the players to create a miracle. This time, the fans have completely believed in Tongfan. They believe that the 22-year-old head coach can change the situation on the court. The sonorous singing was not catchy, but it was as exciting as the rumbling war drums. The sim-impatient Real Madrid players gradually calmed down and remembered the tactical arrangements made by Leoli during the halftime break. Finally, the turning point of the game occurred in the 75th minute. The Dutch piranha Bucero, who had been teased countless times by Real and Higuain, finally fulfilled Tongfan's wish and went crazy like the Yellow River flooding. First, he pulled down the extremely successful Real from behind and received a Topaz God of War card. Then he used a copycat scissor kick imitating Carlos to shovel Higuain Shota 10 meters away with the ball. Far tragedy. 2 yellows combined into 1 red. The first Ruby God of War card in this game that attracted everyone's attention finally came to the Bucero family. Amid Madman Mew's sneer, the Dutch piranha returned to the locker room to wash up and sleep with no expression on his face. The madman made the move to replace the exhausted midfielder Makalil with Paulo Ferreira, and Ghanaian Buffalo SYNOPSIS retreated to the midfielder position. At this point in the game, Chelsea, the Blues, had to retreat and play defensive counter-attacks. But what breaks the heart of Madman Mew is that Real Madrid changed the score less than 5 minutes after Bucero's. Sort of. Thank you to those who gave rewards today. I bow my thanks. Since I'm in such a hurry, I won't list them all to express my gratitude. Each person's essence will be given an extra reward of 3 as a token of apology. Thank you to those who recommended, collected, and clicked. I was in a hurry and corrected the typos later. Chapter 63. Real Madrid captain scores twice. The person who scored the goal was Guti. The way to score a goal is still a long shot. The Golden Wolf teased Chelsea goalkeeper Petr Cech with a stunning and seductive long-distance shot, erasing the shame of being used by the Czech to complete an indirect assist at the end of the first half. So Golden Wolf is smiling happily now. He made a mischievous face at the goalkeeper Cech, who was kneeling on the ground in a daze. Then ran over and picked up the white winger Real, who assisted him, and went to the south stand of the Bernabeu to vent his anger to Real Madrid's most loyal fans. My own pleasure. The fans stretched out their fists and arms and roared to pay tribute to their heroes. The big screen in the center of the stadium replayed the scoring process. Real Madrid winger Real received the ball from Beckham in the middle, and with a simple acceleration, he killed the handsome Portuguese Paulo Ferreira, who was hurriedly sent on by the madman. Real brought the ball near the baseline, faked a kick, and passed the ball. He lightly spiked the ball to avoid the handsome Paul, who was angrily flying from behind. According to Tongfan's request at midfield, he knocked the football back into an inverted triangle. Arriving at the edge of the Blues penalty area, Beckham, who was the first to receive the ball, raised his foot and missed the ball, and then Guti rubbed his instep and shot. Blues goalkeeper Cech began to move carefully into the small penalty area after Real broke through Ferreira, because this way he could pick off the incoming high-altitude ball immediately. Unexpectedly, he made 10 crosses in this game. He chose high-altitude balls 8 times, and 7 of the 8 high-altitude balls could not find his teammate Real, the Spanish stinky horse. At this moment, he chose not to follow the routine and knocked the ball back. Middle road, coupled with the heartthrob Beckham's charming leak, Cech's retreat speed was a little slower, and Ghanaian Buffalo SYNOPSIS, who had just returned to the midfielder position, also made a very embarrassing mistake. Sticking up to press, this gave Golden Wolf Guti a chance to take a leisurely kick, facing the trajectory of a football that is 2 or 3 meters higher than themselves. Even Terry and Carvalho, who are good at controlling high-altitude balls, have to surrender obediently. The ball leisurely passes through Cech's desperately stretched fingertips. It passed 3 centimeters and fell into the goal. Madman Mew was stunned. Luck. Or is it a deliberate tactical arrangement? The 3 points gained turned into 1 point in the blink of an eye. One can imagine the frustration and unwillingness of Chelsea's staff. Unfortunately, things that made them collapse even more were yet to come. Less than 3 minutes after the restart, the somewhat distracted Blues Chelsea suffered another heavy blow. The Ghanaian Buffalo SYNOPSIS, who just made a mistake when Guti scored a goal, probably wanted to make up for it by showing off his toughness and bravery to Madman Mew. He knocked down the heartthrob Beckham 35 meters from the front of the penalty area. Real Madrid wins a well-placed direct free kick. Guti, the hero of the goal, and Beckham, the free kick expert from Real Madrid, stood in front of the football. The two old ladies looked at Blues goalkeeper Petr Cech, who was nervously directing his teammates to line up against the wall, and laughed. Very shameless and lewd. Guti's free kick value in the FM 2007 system reached 16, second only to Beckham's incredible value of 20. Together with the powerful gun king Robert Carlos and the Croatian young shot Modric, who believe in using force to produce miracles, Guti occupies the top spot. He is the second-ranked player among the Real Madrid first-team players in taking free kicks. He is one of the free kick takers designated by Tongfan. As for Beckham, needless to say, if anyone does not know the fame of the full moon scimitar in the football arena, then he is definitely not worthy of this bowl of rice. In the last Spanish national game, Barcelona was kicked into the abyss by one of Beckham's feet, even after taking the lead twice, and became the unlucky victim. So looking at the two people laughing shamelessly, Blues goalkeeper Petr Cech seemed to take it very seriously. He stood on the edge of the goalpost and reminded his teammates over and over again about the position of the wall. But because of this attention, the Czech goalkeeper was second in this game. What a tragedy. Golden Wolf Guti, who has already scored one goal, scored twice in a very awkward way, just when Petr Cech was still standing at the right goalpost directing his teammates to line up against the wall. Guti suddenly attacked with a sinister smile. A quick free kick. With everyone watching, the black and white football squirmed into the left side of the Blues goal. After entering the net, it even jumped a few times behind the goal line. Originally, Petr Cech wanted to pick up the football from the goal and throw it back to Guti. Then he pretended to be relaxed and scolded the Golden Wolf, "Don't make trouble." Unexpectedly, the referee Alexander Pedro blew the whistle seriously and then sent him away. The old man's thick, not slender, fingers pointed at the center circle of the court. Is the goal valid? The goal is valid. Uncles and John seemed frightened. There was a dramatic scene on the field. Real Madrid captain Guti sneaked in and scored a free kick. The referee Pedro announced that the goal was valid. Real Madrid incredibly took the lead, and Chelsea players surrounded the referee. In fact, not only the Chelsea players surrounded the referee, but also their head coach Muku Angren wanted to surround him, but unfortunately he was stopped by the fourth official and the assistant coach together. The madman's grey hair was trembling with anger. He had seen such shamelessness. "Yeah, I've never seen anything so shameless. Does such a goal count?" Uncles and John continued to show off his profound knowledge. Looking at the slow motion, the referee has already blown the whistle before Guti takes the free kick. Wow, it seems that there is really no problem with this goal. Chelsea players were careless. The TV camera swept across the Bernabeu stands, and the white ocean rolled up and down with the sensational roar of the onside commentator. All the Real Madrid fans were forgetfully doing human waves. In the words of classmate Zhao Xingxing, that is where the ups and downs of life come. It's so exciting. Some fans with heart problems have already swallowed red pills with mineral water. Tongfan rushed to the front of the Chelsea coach's bench with a sly look and put his butt in front of Madman Mew in the same dominating the world pose that Mew did after Drogba scored in the first half. Madman Mew suddenly turned pale. The villain succeeds. In line with the coquettish celebration of their coach, the Real Madrid fans in the stands once again sang their songs. There is only one loser in the world. You are our madman, and bring us victory. You are full of courage and crush all enemies. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. A well-meaning person suggested that Xiodeo divide the two chapters to get more clicks, but Xiodeo can only spare time to ride a motorcycle to an internet cafe once a day, so there is no way to do it. Someone with a better heart would suggest that Xiodeo should not update for 2 or 3 days, but update chapter 7 or 8 at a time. Let Xiodeo think about this. Chapter 64, 3 Men on a Show. Madman Mew's overwhelming resentment could only be vented at the post-match press conference, while Tongfan's celebration was only halfway through when he was forcibly interrupted by firefighter greed and dragged away horizontally, depressed. This is the home court of Real Madrid, and there are no opposing fans hitting me with bricks, lighters, underwear, etc. Why does this guy Laoj want to pull me back? Could it be that he is actually starting to be jealous of this coach's attractive image? Lee Tongfan glared at Greda unhappily, but the honest man nuzzled at Chelsea's substitute Zeno. Lee Tongfan looked in the direction of Greda's mouth and was surprised to find that among the substitute players of the Blues, Nigeria's Mikel and Cameroon were stunned. The big stupid Grimmy had already stood up with a fierce look on his face. Want to make a sneak attack? I can't afford it. It's so worthless. Do you only allow your boss, Mr. Mew, to put on a pose on my property to attract attention and get the limelight, but don't allow me, the owner, to express my excitement after one of my players scores a goal? Are you still being unreasonable, since he was already 1 goal behind and 0 points were of no help in qualifying for the group? Mourinho started his big gamble and replaced 2 forwards with the Ivorian Blackshot Kalau and the Ukrainian nuclear warhead Shepchin, who had been holding back for 80 minutes. Midfielder Bolak and centre-back Carvalho were removed, and big headshot Joe Cole returned to the attacking midfielder position. Magic Lampard and Buffalo Essien controlled the midfield, putting on a 3-2-1-3 trapped beast battle formations. Lee Tongfan is happy. There are still 10 people left, and they dare to put up 3 defenders to play against our emperor. Do you think you are Barcelona, who has integrated offensive football into its blood and soul? So Leoli rushed to the sidelines without showing any signs of weakness, waved his hand, and motioned for the handsome men to come forward. The game has reached this moment. The bayonet is already seeing red. The critical moment for the brave to win, when they meet on a narrow road. Whoever pretends to be a grandson and who has a braid. Real Madrid fans were very pleased to see that the courageous madman in their mouth did not ask the team to defend for stability after taking the lead. Instead, he asked the players to respond to the Blues Chelsea in a more heroic manner. Provocation and retaliation. This is the true spirit of Real Madrid. Is this what the most outstanding club of the 20th century should look like? Speaking of which, Leoli is really an actor with superstar potential. He shamelessly made perfect use of everything that happened in the FM 2007 system simulation, and then successfully established the image of a tall and majestic offensive coach in the eyes of outsiders. Actually easily won the hearts of the so-called most picky Real Madrid fans. If you take a closer look, you will see that this guy doesn't have a clear tactical system, but every time Lee Tongfan's risky attack that seems to be purely seeking death can deceive a victory to outsiders. This also makes countless bricks win. The reason for the puzzlement and dissatisfaction of the family called Beast is that some famous football players attribute all this to luck, because Leoli has only led the team for less than 4 games so far, and has not been tested by enough games. The luck theory is still tenable. A famous football legend once said that there are no rules in a single football match. Only by increasing the number of matches played by both sides to more than 100 can we get something slightly universal. Lee Tongfan is now in such a stage of neither high nor low. If he wants everyone to recognize him, he must increase his number of wins to more than 100. But for the fans, it doesn't matter whether you are lucky or not. A black cat, a white cat, a male dog or a female dog. If it catches mice, it is a good cat or dog. They don't want to care about coat color or species. Lee Tongfan brings them joy and victory. Just send flowers and praises to Lee Tongfan. In the 85th minute of the game, Real Madrid expanded the score. Joe Cole, the most skilled English striker in the Blues, was too attached to the ball to show off his skills. As a result, Marcelo, the stupid youngster who was cut into pieces with a sharp knife, rushed up and poked the ball away with his toe. After that, Beckham, after getting the ball, it was another unreasonable long pass from the backcourt. Van Nistelrooy, the king of the small penalty area, who was ambushing nearly the whole Chelsea penalty area, had Carvalho's personal marking. A header assisted, and the fat Ronaldo, who came in like lightning, shot the ball furiously. 3:1 exclamation point. At this point in the game, it was over for Chelsea, the blue team. With one less player to fight, they completely lost the chance to overtake. As the Premier League hegemons, they began to fight for their dignity. In the 88th minute of the game, the Blues striker Didier Drogba once again showed his power and provided a header assist that was no worse than Ruud van Nistelrooy just now. The Ukrainian nuclear warhead who came on the bench made a great push in the penalty area. The ball speed was too fast. Casillas didn't react at all. .3:2, Chelsea, the blue team who faced the challenge with 10 men, regained a victory, perhaps because his life in North London was too depressing this season. The Ukrainian national hero ran for more than 50 meters along the field after scoring the goal and came to the ground in front of more than 5,000 Chelsea fans to vent his intense emotions. But this scene was obviously not appreciated by the head coach Muku Angren. Magic Bird's handsome face, which was not very bright at first, became even more livid. It is estimated that he can go on stage to sing Peking opera without makeup, however, or thoughtful cameraman captured Chelsea owner Abramovich in the VIP box. The Russian tycoon was chewing gum, smiling happily and applauding. 3 men and 1 drama. This unharmonious drama may have to continue, but it is not a good thing for the Blues. Chelsea, with 4 minutes of stoppage time in the game, Chelsea launched a crazy counter-attack at the last moment, and even suppressed Real Madrid, who had one more player, until they were beaten in the second half. Unfortunately, their slightly anxious mood and the lack of luck in this game made them not. Another goal was scored at the last moment when the referee Alexander Pedro blew the final whistle on the bright red score display board at the Bernabeu Stadium. The numerical relationship of 3:2 was retained until the last moment, with more than 60,000 Real Madrid fans cheering like a tsunami at the scene. The focus of Group A of the 2006-2007 UEFA Champions League group stage has come to an end. Although it was a narrow victory and there were some opportunistic moments during the game in this well-known young coach's battle that was hyped by the media, Lee Tongfan, who had the home field advantage, had the last laugh. The Portuguese Mourinho, after Frank Rijkaard, the world's best coach in 2006, became the second world-class coach to fall before Lee Tongfan and the FM 2007 system in the four-handed IBM T30. Of course, this list is not complete yet, and Kuang Mu and Black Swan will soon discover that they are not alone in their fight against Lee Tongfan. Xiaodao doesn't dare to delay the plot. He is really busy and can't get away from it. For the time being, he can only add so much every day. You can speed it up when you return to HD, which will take about half a month. Sorry. Thanks to a few generous tips, I will give you an extra award of 3 points for the best part. Chapter 65. After the game, the madman and the crazy man are good friends. At the end of the game, Lee Tongfan rushed into the field like a little donkey that had been unloaded. He patted the hammers on the shoulders and hugged them one by one, praised his players, and waved with the players to the more than 60,000 fans in the stands. At the beginning of the game, pay tribute to the cutest people who have been supporting the team and enjoy the hero treatment together. After a while, assistant coach Grad had to come over and interrupt the Real Madrid coach who was trying his best to show off. Lee, the post-match press conference is about to begin. Are you going to go, or am I going to go this time? You must know that after the previous 3 La Liga games, Leoli, who has never been very cold to reporters, tried his best to find various excuses to evade, so that Greed had to act as the chief spokesperson 3 times in a row to fend off reporters on his behalf. The exchange of words was just a casual question today, and I didn't really think that Lee Tongfan would suddenly change his mind and perform his duties seriously. Who knows? Leo Jet, I would have forgotten it if you didn't tell me. Lee Tong and Fan Lang smiled and patted Grad on the shoulder, walking towards the press conference room. Damn it, Greed and the superstars of Real Madrid's first team all opened their mouths wide and stared at Leoli, who had previously avoided media reporters and rushed into the press group without hesitation. When passing through the mixed zone, many reporters shouted Leoli's name loudly, and several Chinese reporters even tried to squeeze through the crowd. Lee Tongfan kept going all the way, saying hello to acquaintances and gesturing at the same time. The meaning was very simple. If you have any questions, go to the press conference hall. I'm in a good mood today. Please cooperate to the end. Hurrah! The bustling mixed area suddenly became empty because of a few gestures from Leoli. Everyone ran to the press hall. Everyone knew that there was a lot of fun. The just concluded game was full of controversies. The head coaches from both teams were laughing and cursing and stealing countless scenes, with Madman Mew's style of scolding people to death. and not paying for their lives, and Lee Tongfan's style of fearing chaos in the world. It was really exciting to watch today. After Lee Tongfan entered, he found that Mu Kuangren was already sitting behind the table with an impatient expression on his face. He supported his chin with one hand and tapped the table with his fingertips. However, there were several nymphomaniac reporters among the reporters below who were jealous. They are indeed madmen. They look so cool, even when they are angry. Leoli stood at the door and coughed lightly. Suddenly, all the reporters were like blue-headed flies smelling dog shit. The cameras and microphones all turned their guns and pointed them at Lee Tongfan. When Leoli coughed, Kuangren Mu fell out of favor. This is the treatment the winner deserves. Lee Tongfan gave Mu Kuangren a provocative look from across the air, then slowly walked to the madman's side and sat down. The head coaches are here. If you have any questions, please ask. The press officer immediately disappeared at the entrance of the hall. After leaving a few words, the next situation will be more explosive. In order to avoid being affected by Caillou, other staff members have already evacuated before the press officer evacuated. As a result, before the reporters started firing, Kuangren Mu took the lead. I have nothing to say. They won the game. We won respect, and I'm proud of the performance of my players. I'm coming. The reporters were in high spirits. Madman Mu lit the fuse. Let's see how Madman Lee exploded. I don't have anything to say. Lee Tongfan took over with a smile. We have won the game and respect. I'm also proud of my players. This is boring. How about actually playing a game of brothers? Journalists are disappointed, but you are proud. What should we do if we don't have any gimmicks to attract readers? A brave warrior who dared to be the first to eat crabs stood out from the crowd. He was a reporter from The Sun, who came to the Bernabeu in Madrid with Chelsea to watch the game. Mr. Mourinho, what do you think of the red card in the 76th minute of the game? As expected of a reporter from The Sun, he displayed his pervasive gossip nature and pointedly revealed the subtle points that the two head coaches were unwilling to mention. No opinion. For us, the game ended at that moment. Madman Mu tapped the table expressionlessly. There is someone who deserves a red card more than my player, but Mr. Alexander Pedro obviously don't think so. So you think the referee favored Real Madrid? This guy from The Sun's perseverance made every reporter present give a thumbs up. Who would have thought that after Mu Kuangren answered once, he would continue to knock on the table with his chin in his hands and would not care about this man anymore. Seeing Mourinho hanging the no-war card, the reporters threw the problem to the side of Madman Lee. However, although Lee Tongfan is still a rookie now, he can be regarded as a rookie who has experienced the test of wind and rain. How could he be fooled by these shady people? I think the referee controlled the game very well. As for Borrelos's red card, I'm sorry. This is football. We all have to abide by its rules and mistakes should be punished. It doesn't taste right. The reporters were greatly disappointed. The showdown between madman and madman should not be so peaceful. A Chinese reporter stood up. I'm King Kong, a reporter from ***.com. Mr. Tongfan. First of all, congratulations on your victory in this game. Lee Tongfan was shocked. This guy is King Kong, a generation of sluts known as the coquettish leader on ***.com. He looks chubby and quite honest. How come his writing style is completely inherited from the ancient god Nanling Xiaoxiasheng? Brother King Kong saw that Lee Tongfan was smiling, and he mustered up his energy to continue asking, you have led the team to victory in 4 games. Do you have any secrets, Leo? Lee's face drooped. This question was almost as good as that of Winter Mushroom Leader Danziner. It was so amateurish. Even if there is any secret, I can't tell it here, but as a compatriot, Lee Tongfan can't imitate Mu Kuangren and hang up the exemption card. Real Madrid is a great team. I just did what I should do, and winning is all the result of the team's joint efforts. Saying this has already given the coquettish leader enough face. Who knows that this man is not satisfied yet? You have achieved success in your position. What do you think of Chinese football? Questions. With Chinese characteristics, bait hiding evil intentions. This is a heartbreaking question. Leoli's patience finally ran out, and he imitated Kuangren Mu and tapped his chin on the table. The King Kong leader did it angrily. The reporters learned a lesson. The 2 men behind the interview table were both soft-spoken and unyielding, so the subsequent questions were closely centered around football. After 15 minutes, Mu Kuangren made an exception and shook hands with Lee Tongfan. Got a handshake. This was a rare moment when Mourinho shook hands with the opponent's head coach after an embarrassing loss. Countless reporters' cameras recorded this scene for the first time. I have to say that there may only be one update per day for the next 3 days. There were a lot of things going on when I got home. My father had some spinal discomfort. As a fairly knowledgeable adult in the family, Xiaodao had to accompany him to the city for a physical checkup. Remember it, I will make up for it, after returning to HD, probably around July 22nd. Luckily it's not a competition these days. Excessive plot, some extras needed for the project are coming out soon. Let's take a look at the little jokes that were made after dinner at that time. Chapter 66 Superstar Development Plan. Back at his residence, Lee Tongfan began to seriously think about the question raised by the Chinese reporter at the press conference today in front of the 4 IBM T30s. The King Kong master pulled out the question that Laoli had been hiding in his heart and was reluctant to mention. That is Chinese football. This evil topic is a pain in the hearts of all Chinese fans, and it hurts their hearts. In China, the world's most populous country, the number of people who like football fans is no less than that of other European football powers, but the injuries caused by football are much more than those of fans in any other country. From the A-League, where professional football started, to the current Chinese Super League, match fixing, black whistles, gambling, and black bankers, everything has made fans despair of China's professional league, and the national team, which represents the level of a country's football, is even more devastating. Presumably, when the Zhao state councillors invented Cuju, they certainly did not expect that in the distant Song dynasty, a man named Gao Qiu would become famous because of this little game and then mislead the country and the people. They would not have thought that even in the more distant primary stage of socialism, this 11-person sport that was supposed to bring leisure and pleasure to 1.3 billion Chinese people after dinner, and he has become a ladder for Gao Qiu's descendants to get promoted and make money. Of course, Chinese football has also had its own dazzling glory before 1936. In the Far East Games, the Chinese team defeated the Japanese team 5-0 to win the championship. For this reason, the special headline of the Japanese newspaper was, "The Iron Army of Chinese Football, a 10-year winning streak." From then on, the praise of the Chinese Iron Army spread like wildfire. 10 games, 9 championships. In the Far East Games at that time, whenever the Chinese football team played against the Japanese team, they often scored 5-1 and 4-0, which made Japanese football lose face, and could only sigh, since there is you. Why is there lying point before the Chinese football team arrived in Berlin in 1936, it was called the Chinese Iron Army. A mysterious team that European and American football powers could not figure out. In 1936, the Chinese men's football team, which almost failed to participate in the 11th Berlin Olympics due to a travel fee of 50,000 yuan, defeated England, the originator of modern football, 7:0. However, in the 21st century, professional athletes with an annual salary of 1 million yuan, wearing LV bags, and driving Mercedes-Benz and BMW, have become third-rate in Asia. Today, Chinese football has not won against South Korea or Japan for 32 years, and is often ridiculed as suffering from Korea-phobia and Japan-phobia. Cherish life, and stay away from Chinese football. Your brother plays for the national team, and your whole family plays for the national team. How much sorrow can you have? It's like the national football team members going to a brothel. They can't score no matter what. Wait, etc. Although the netizens' words are teasing, they vividly reflect the helplessness of the fans. Lee Tongfan was one of them, but today, looking at the icon of FM 2007 system on the desktop menu of the computer, Lee Tongfan suddenly felt proud. Now he holds great power, and has great ability. Can he do something for Chinese football? Of course, the Chinese Football Association, this big cancer, is better to stay away from. Although FM 2007 system is against the sky, it does not have the ability to modify the Chinese Football Association. Moreover, confronting the state machine is definitely like an old man eating arsenic, and he is afraid of dying. Old Li still has this self-knowledge. In Li Tongfan's view, Chinese football should be divided into two types. One is the slaves who have been castrated of blood and fighting spirit, just like puppets, who only know to obey the orders of their superiors, and are treated as eggs in their crotch by officials. They can play with them as they want. The other is those uncontaminated players who have not been dragged into the so-called professional football, and are full of yearning for pure football. Now that I have the ability now, I should do something that a Chinese fan should do. If the football environment cannot be changed, it is also good to cultivate some Chinese stars, just like myself. From an unknown unemployed angry young man, I transformed myself into the head coach of a world-class giant. I was immediately sought after by fans all over China, and was called a phenomenon by the outside world. On the surface, it seems to be an honor. In fact, the world media acted so strongly. Isn't it because I'm a Chinese? To be frank, this is a disguised denial of Chinese football. Is it a loud slap in the face of Chinese football if a Brazilian, Portuguese, Dutch or even Frenchman became the head coach of Real Madrid? Li Tongfan is sure that there will be no similar tsunami in the football world. The emergence of a coach among 1.3 billion people has already made compatriots excited. So, what if this coach cultivates several world-class Chinese football superstars? Getting FM 2007 should not only be Li Tongfan's own luck, but also the luck of Chinese fans. Everything that I didn't dare to hope for before can happen as I wish. Fans can also watch their country's stars shine in the top European leagues. Why not? Of course, all this has nothing to do with politics or the Football Association. Li Tongfan slowly drew up a long-term plan in his mind. Cultivating a few superstars is not a matter of one day or one night. Even if he has FM millimeters, data modifier, he still has to plan for the long term. First of all, the Chinese players to be cultivated must appear in the FM 2007 database. That is, they must have played for a professional football club. Only in this way can the player's personal file be read out, and only then can the data be modified using FM millimeters. So the problem arises. Players who play for professional clubs are basically polluted, and they are more or less related to the Chinese Football Association. Even after they are cultivated to become superstars, they will inevitably take advantage of those who want to gain access to them. A tool for political performance. This is definitely not what Li Tongfan wants to see. There are very few Chinese players playing in foreign leagues. Basically, they are all too old. They are already very old without being cultivated. It is very difficult to find a few young players. In addition, there is another issue that must be mentioned, and that is the quality of the chosen person. The white-eyed wolf who turns his face when he gets a bargain is definitely not an option. Although Aoli has the killer weapon to bring him back to his prototype, FM 2007, it would not be disgusting enough if such a farmer and snake story really happened. Character is not only necessary for the operation of FM 2007, but also the first criterion for Laoli's selection. Although Aoli's own character is questionable. Have I got up in the middle of the night and coded one? It's for today. Tomorrow's update should be before 10 o'clock in the evening. I have to take care of my father. Please forgive me. Maybe I should save a little more for a few days and update 7 or 8 chapters at a time to make the tubes happy. But Ziodeo's fear of being a duke has become a habit, and he will become more and more accustomed to it. So try to have at least one chapter every day. Ashamed. I will definitely make up for it when I return to HD after the 22nd. Chapter 67 to Awesome Demands. The Chinese Shota training program is a long-term project. If you want to introduce players, the earliest you can do it is after December 30th, when the international football winter transfer market opens. So there is no need to rush. At present, there are two things that Laoli needs to solve. First, he needs to hire an hourly worker as soon as possible. He and Wan King live in a villa of 300 to 400 square meters. Not only are they busy with work, but they are also super lazy bugs who are too lazy to help when they fall down. If they continue to live there, the villa will become a den of bears. Secondly, Laoli is so awesome that he needs an agent. Li Tongfan's overnight fame is legendary. like the top 3 candidates in the ancient times who stayed at home for 10 years but no one cared about them, but became famous overnight and known to the world. Lee's fame process has become the most desired path in the dreams of countless Otacus and Otacus in the new century. In the pure GDP era of state advancement and private retreat, the result of the first rich vested interests dividing up the wealth has led to starting from scratch becoming a myth that is even more impossible than in feudal society. Therefore, the sudden emergence of the unknown Li Tongfan has made many people find spiritual sustenance. The development of information consultation in the internet era has made Li Tongfan's life information available to human flesh. From how much he weighed when he was born to how many times he snores and goes to the toilet every night, his fans, the gluttons, will remember it one by one. This process of becoming famous is even more incredible than the Spring Brother who created a musical miracle. In China, Li Tongfan is now a leading figure in the sports world. Yao Ming struggled hard in the stadium in Houston, USA, to fight for a championship ring. Liu Zhang even needs to prove the dignity and honor of the yellow race in track and field events in the upcoming 2008 Olympics. In this era of lack of idols, even people who don't like football have begun to pay attention to this compatriot, who has rocketed to the position of head coach of the giant Real Madrid. The success story of a man who is not diligent. This is the most attractive part, because lazy but eager to succeed are always the majority. Many lazy people who are frustrated look up at the head of Li Tongfan on the TV screen or see Lao Li's information when browsing the web boredly, and they always can't help but exclaim, "Wow, it turns out that this guy is also a lazy guy. It turns out that people as lazy as me can also succeed. People are so strange." The success of a man with extraordinary talent, strong will and incomparable hard work will not be eagerly pursued. But if one day you find that the guy next to you who is as dark, lazy, idle all day, and has high expectations and low skills as you has become famous, then you can't help but feel complacent. In fact, I'm better than him. The popularity has made Li Tongfan the darling of sponsors and the advertising industry overnight. After leading the team to defeat Barcelona in the third round of the Spanish La Liga, countless calls will be made to Li Tongfan's private mobile phone or the news department of the Real Madrid club every day, asking to sign a business contract with Lao Li. In addition to domestic Chinese companies, there are also European and American giants. In order to prepare for the Champions League match with Chelsea, Li Tongfan would refuse all of them. Anyway, he is now in the active position. As long as he continues to stay in the position of Real Madrid coach for one day, even if he is more powerful than the national leaders, these companies will have to serve him carefully like ancestors. Now that the match with Chelsea is over, Lao Li has to think about it. Lao Li is now like a kid who sits on a mountain of gold and silver, with gold everywhere but no ability to pick it up. For those internationally renowned coaches, the salary they receive from the club every year is only a small part of their total income. Mourinho wears an Armani trench coat not because he loves Armani clothing to the core, but because Italian businessmen pay him a valuable endorsement fee every year. Those who work under him, let alone England's money-making King Beckham, even the fledgling Croatian little boys Modric and Joel Luka, who joined Real Madrid less than 3 months ago, have received endorsement contracts of no less than €3 million a year. From the big-bellied businessmen with the help of their agents, it would be a lie to say that Lao Li is not jealous. No one is so stubborn as to go against the magical money that can make things difficult. However, our ancestors thousands of years ago told us earnestly, a gentleman loves money, but he gets it in a proper way. Li Tongfan's understanding of this sentence has a unique and classic meaning. A gentleman likes money, but the way to get money must be methodical, and it is best to grab the maximum amount at one time, and not waste the opportunity to make money. Li Tongfan rejected the business contract for this purpose before. He must cherish these sheep who came to be slaughtered, and it is best to grab the wool. Mutton bones and even mutton marrow, but he obviously does not have such a superb ability and needs to find an accomplice, just like the famous crocodile agent Mens helped Mu Kuangren. Unfortunately, Lao Li searched his brains and made himself thin, and he did not find a qualified candidate to be his agent among the people he was familiar with. Many players or coaches will choose their own relatives as agents, but their farmer father, who only knows how to make hard-earned money in lowest lumps, is obviously not the material, and his younger brother, who is studying economics at Northwest Normal University. Can barely get a job. A little bit, but Leoli really can't feel that his money path is in the hands of this stupid guy who hasn't even passed set 4 in college English. Other friends, those who are capable have no feelings, and those who have feelings are not capable. All of them gave Lee Tongfan the feeling of being entrusted to someone other than a human being. Do you want to send out a recruitment information and select the best candidates? This was even worse. Before this, there were guys who came to Leoli's door and asked to be Leoli's manager. But seeing those guys looking at him like they were fat sheep, Lee Tongfan said rudely. He refused. How to change it? It would be great if an agent could fall from the sky who is trustworthy and has the ability to maneuver both vertically and horizontally. Got Allah, Buddha, Sand King Patriarch. Lee Tongfan, a staunch atheist, lay on the velvet white soft bed and began to pray that he would encounter a surprise when the door opened tomorrow. What Leoli didn't expect was that he encountered a big surprise the next day. Of something embarrassing happened, and I was delayed yesterday. I will make up for it by 1 chapter today, 3 chapters in total. I will explain it to the bosses after passing it on. Chapter 68 Human Money Printing Machine and Ladder to Heaven. The next morning, Lee Tongfan arrived at the office of Madrid Sports City as usual, and found that someone was waiting for him at the door. Alex, Calderon's female translator. This blonde and blue-eyed girl has become a mouthpiece for Leoli and the club chairman, Mr. Calderon, to communicate with each other. As the saying goes, night owls stay at home and don't come for no reason. Leoli was amazed when he saw this girl at first, but now he frowns when he smells the strong fragrance of Usei perfume on her. Alex's arrival gives Lee Tongfan a very bad feeling. Sure enough, the blonde girl first cast a coquettish eye according to the custom, and then laughed. Dilly, Mr. Chairman asked me to tell you that you don't have to be responsible for the team's training today. There are several mysterious guests from your homeland who hope to talk to you. Guests? From the homeland? Interview? Is it another interviewer from the court TV station? That shouldn't be the case. Helanshan and Fan Zhuang are already getting along well with the coach, and they don't need Calderon to mediate. Fans. That's even more impossible. For Calderon, an old lawyer who doesn't do anything without profit, the word fans that can be basically ignored has never been valued in his life dictionary before the chairman's election. Lee Tongfan was very surprised. While inviting the blonde girl into the office, he deliberately pretended to be embarrassed. The team's training cannot do without me. You know, the game with Real Betis will be in 4 days, and the time is very tight. This time, Mr. Chairman, it's really for your own good. I heard that the guest is an official from your country. Alex rarely showed a serious expression. Official? Could it be that I have a fan who is an official? For Calderon to pay so much attention, he must be an official of great weight. Haha, it doesn't matter if I go and meet him. Anyway, the first team training is fully in charge of the model assistant coach, Old Jen. It's tiring to pose on the sidelines of the training ground all day. It's good to relax. That's no problem. For the benefit of the club, I suddenly feel that I should sacrifice time to build the team. Lee Tongfan changed his shy attitude and agreed excitedly. Alex, the blonde girl, smiled with her hands covering her mouth. Old Lee's speed of changing his face is much faster than turning a book. After explaining the specific time arrangement, Alex walked away excitedly with her round buttocks shaking. When assistant coach Greed arrived at the training base, Old Lee brought out the imperial edict of President Calderon, explained a few training matters, and left Real Madrid in a shaky manner, ready to take a bath and burn incense to meet his official fans. The mentality of a small person and an avarice is fully revealed when Old Lee changed into a self-proclaimed cool outfit and came to the club's administrative office. It was already past 10 o'clock in the morning. Under the guidance of relevant personnel, he soon came to Calderon's private reception room. He actually received an official here. Lee Tongfan was a little surprised. Uncle Calderon was famous for enjoying himself. It was said that he was so extravagant in the private reception room of the club that he had committed a crime. Even I, the current top worker of Real Madrid, had never enjoyed it. I wonder who came today to make Uncle Calderon make such exceptions one after another. Uncle Calderon, as Laoli called him, was also very happy these 2 days. Under his wise and powerful leadership, Real Madrid defeated Barcelona and Real Madrid successively. Not only was the record unparalleled, but the angry fans who wanted to arrest their whole family and sell them to brothels sang praises. Even the unexpected sweet and juicy big cake from thousands of miles away was delivered to his door, and the one who brought all this was the young Chinese head coach who he had appointed without knowing why. The Chinese football market has always been a tasteless chicken rib that many giants have abandoned. The huge fan population base is coveted, but the overall purchasing power is far less than some second and third rate European countries. What is even more incomprehensible is that the football officials of this country seem to attach great importance to the relationship with foreign giant clubs, but they seem to have no enthusiasm for various business plans that are beneficial to the development of domestic football. Florentino, the former chairman of Real Madrid club, has tried many times to open up the Chinese market and arranged for the team to play commercial games in China for many years, but the results are very limited. When Li Tongfan became the head coach of the team, Calderon vaguely saw the golden key to seize the opportunity to break through the door that even the old man could not conquer, according to recent statistics from some media. After Li Tongfan took office as the head coach of Real Madrid club, the number of Real Madrid fans in China increased by dozens of times, surpassing Manchester United in one fell swoop, to become the club with the most fans in this country with a population of 1.3 billion. For a time, everything about Real Madrid became the topic that people in this country are most willing to mention after dinner. It is worth pointing out that the majority of these new fans are young and middle-aged people with full purchasing power, which was an incredible figure in the past. And yesterday, the visit of Nan Zhongchen, vice chairman of the Chinese Football Association, the highest administrative body of Chinese football, made Calderon ecstatic. You must know that Real Madrid has contacted these officials before, but what is puzzling is that in this strange organization, from the managers to the cleaning workers, everyone is lazily exuding an unreasonable superiority feeling and satisfaction every time Real Madrid tries to get close. If the hot face cannot bring a price that satisfies the other party, in the end it will always end up with the cold but without mercy. The visit of Nan Zhongchen, vice chairman of the Football Association, finally made Mr. Calderon smell something unusual. After a period of tentative contact, the two sides finally reached a golden agreement. Boom, boom, boom. There was a knock on the door, and Alex led Li Tongfan in. Calderon and Nan Zhongchen stood up happily and looked at the confused old Li. What Uncle Card saw was a movable human money printing machine, and Football Association Vice Chairman Nan Zhongchen, a middle-aged and slightly fat man, saw a stepping stone on the road to glorious promotion. Dear Li, Uncle Kaz's orange-peeled old face cracked with smiles. This is the vice chairman of your country's football association. Before the enthusiastic Uncle Ka finished the introduction, the even more enthusiastic Nan Zhongchen had already rushed over to hold Laoli's hand. Comrade Zioli, your work is excellent. This tone. Li Tongfan felt goosebumps all over his body, and he hurriedly pulled his hands out of the fat man's greasy fingers. He couldn't help but take out a piece of paper towel from his pocket and wipe it carefully, as if he had just pulled his hands out of the pile of shit. The vice chairman suddenly turned black and twitched the corners of his mouth. When Li Tongfan was still an ordinary fan, Nan Zhongchen, who was angrily criticized by fans as the most shameless fat man in the history of Chinese football, and Zi Liangjiang, the real chairman of the Football Association, and the thin man, were often seen on TV. Loyal and good general ranks second and third in the list of Chinese netizens' despise list. However, in order to meet the needs of Chinese football, the number one pick is temporarily vacant. Some people may not believe it when I tell you that the internet cafe where I have been posting articles has been severely punished and closed down. Xiaodao now works at a mobile phone repair shop and pays 10 yuan to use the machine for 10 minutes to upload articles. Time is running out. If there are typos, go back to HD and correct them together. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69. 3 matches in 9 days, 1 at home and 2 away. Unexpectedly, Lee Tongfan turned around with disdain and said 2 words, "Silly bee, Nan." Zhang Chen was stunned for a moment after being scolded, and then he felt as if he had seen a ghost. He took out an orchid finger with his right hand and pointed at Leoli's sincere face and shook it. He was trembling, but couldn't say a word. The blonde girl Alex also exclaimed and covered her pink and tender mouth, her eyes full of incredulity. As a competent translator who is proficient in Chinese, Alex certainly knew that Leoli just threw coldly. Those 2 words below are so destructive. As a blonde girl who is a little China expert, I have heard about some things in China's officialdom. A commoner with a flat head dared to say such things to the leader. It is really, after Lee Tongfan finished expressing his evaluation of Nam Changchen happily, scientifically, and rationally, he ignored the vice chairman of the Football Association who was so angry that he started to perform belly dance with his fat belly trembling, doing 3 steps and 2 steps at a time. He twisted his unsexy buttocks and ran out, then deliberately slammed the door with all his strength. Boom. The sound of closing the door is deafening. It wasn't until this moment that Nan Zhangchen, who was dizzy with anger, realized that by the time he unleashed all his leadership skills and wanted to launch a fighting counterattack, Lee Tongfan was no longer in the house. The fat man's face turned green and red, and the corners of his narrowed eyes were filled with resentment. His uncle, he went abroad in disgrace today, in front of Real Madrid chairman Calderon. His fat face, that he stretched out enthusiastically, was covered by that bad luck guy slapped him hard and mercilessly. A loud slap. Thinking about those playing football in China, who would not bow down and flatter me when they see me. They always point their noses and curse at others. Who would have expected that anyone would dare to scold me like this? I spent my whole life hunting geese, but unexpectedly I was blinded by a wild goose peck. However, this bastard who is not within the management scope of the Football Association is not afraid of his own revenge at all. It will obviously be very difficult to deal with Lee Tongfan. But since this bastard is so dishonest, you can't let him go just like that no matter what. Nan Zhangchen thought of this and slowly sketched out some vicious revenge ideas in his mind. He couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth and sneered a few times. Now he no longer thinks about the bullshit agreement with Real Madrid and just groaned. This is out of the reception room. Actually, in fact, it's not just Fatty Nan who has lost face in front of foreigners. Uncle Calderon is also a bit embarrassed. After all, you, Lee Tongfan, are also a wage earner working for me. Why don't you give face to the boss? Uncle Calderon and the blonde girl Alex look at me, and I look at you. What the hell is this? Lee Tongfan is really a troublemaker. At this moment, Uncle Calderon really wanted to convene the board of directors immediately and tell this bastard coach who disregards the interests of the club to get as far away as possible. But thinking about the record achieved by this young man leading the team and the people who have changed their views and surrounded him all day long, the die-hard Real Madrid fans who happily held a concert in front of the club to praise the club's management, the old man held back again. The Chinese Football Association doesn't care about bullshit fans, but Uncle Taka doesn't dare to play like this. You must know that Florentino Lafayette, who was driven out of office after all his efforts, is still waiting for the opportunity to seize the chairmanship. The support of the fans is the only reason why Calderon continues to govern the Galacticos. The most basic guarantee, so he has to treat these fans like uncles. In this way, Lee Tongbium, who is already deeply loved by Real Madrid fans, is the eldest among the eldest. Uncle Calderon could only knock out his teeth, swallow blood, and swallow tears in his own belly. In this way, in the first confrontation between Liu Tongzi and the legendary Chinese Football Association, it seemed that Lee Tongfan had won for the time being. Liu's idea is very simple. I'm barefoot and not afraid of you wearing shoes. With the magic weapon FM 2007 in my hand, I have been wandering abroad and not playing with you at the Chinese Football Association. What can you do to me? In Lee Tongfan's view, molesting the Chinese Football Association is a very tiring thing, so Liu is very willing to continue to devote his limited life to the unlimited cause of molesting the Chinese Football Association. However, For Chinese football, Li Tongfan still firmly stands on the side of support, although he has always been sorrowful for his misfortune and angry for his inability to fight. As long as he has the ability, as a truly conscientious Chinese fan, who would be able to resist extending a hand to help. As for whether we can pull it out of the stinking ditch and pull out a clean sky, we can only do our best, and listen to fate. To paraphrase what the great sage Zhuangzi once said, to carry Mount Tate across the North Sea, you have to do it without doing anything, and you can't do it with sincerity. Dividing line. After the smoke from the 3 league rounds cleared, a surprising scene appeared on the La Liga standings. Real Madrid, which was not favored by everyone due to the coaching change controversy, ranked first with 9 points, after winning 3 games. Last season, it climbed to the top of Europe. Barcelona, another La Liga giant at the top, after recruiting strong players such as Gianluca Zambrotta, ranked last in the standings with a complete defeat record with 2 games less. Fortunately, in the first round of the Champions League group stage that just ended, Barcelona defeated Vålerenga from Norway with a score of 2-0 at home, which finally eased the media's criticism of the Dream Team second. You should know that. Because the team lost in the European Super Cup final and the Spanish national derby, Barcelona coach Rijkaard suffered a lot of public pressure, and even the team's star players Eto'o, Ronaldinho and others were criticized by major newspapers, especially Ronaldinho, although his performance in this season's games has not declined compared with last season. The media surprisingly unanimously attributed Barcelona's poor performance to the Brazilians. Off-field clubbing, picking up girls and visiting nightclubs, chasing and biting. There is a trend of a Spanish version of asterisk. Even Li Tongbum, the league's sworn enemy, couldn't stand the ugly faces of the media. He took time to write a scolding article in his column Dictatorship and Various Dissatisfactions, unceremoniously naming the media. That made trouble out of nothing. Of course, these are just small episodes in the La Liga League. For Real Madrid and Li Tongbum, playing well in the next game is the top priority. On September 16th and 21st, 2006, Real Madrid will play against Real Betis and Celta at home respectively. The next week will be a real test for Li Tongbum, because on the 3rd day after the match with Celta, Real Madrid will go away to challenge another La Liga giant Valencia. Less than 3 days after the match, they will have to go to Greece to play the second round of the UEFA Champions League group stage against AEK Athens. 3 games in 9 days, 2 of which are away games. The intensive schedule makes every member of the Real Madrid coaching staff look bitter. The article is just a funny novel, so it is difficult to seriously set the mentality of officials. Xiaodao is a blind official, and everyone is just reading for fun. If you say that everything written is reasonable, Xiaodao asks himself that he does not have the writing ability. Today I'm still transferring things in the mobile phone repair department, so I don't have time to take care of the book review area. Please forgive me, I will definitely release it after I bring HD. Reply. Thank you for your support, especially the administrators of the Book Friends group. Thank you. Chapter 70 Godlike Player. On September 16th, Real Madrid played against Real Betis at home. In the training the day before, the Brazilian winger Robinho, who had just recovered from injury, collided with his fellow countryman and senior Roberto Carlos. As a result, the mysterious Chinese truth that older people are more experienced was once again proved. Robinho was tragically hit, and his left arm was fractured. There was no hope of returning. He needed to return to the warm embrace of Team Dr. Gonzalez Lee for 3 weeks of treatment. Roberto Carlos was just dizzy for a while, and did not even have a slight concussion. Losing a winger before the game is definitely not a good sign, but worse things are still to come. Less than 30 minutes after the Brazilian boy was carried to the infirmary by the team doctor on a stretcher, another superstar of Real Madrid's first team sadly followed the footsteps of Robbie Jr. The captain, Raul Gonzalez, pretended to have a head injury in the confrontation with a bald centre-back Cannavaro. Since the head of the ranking is obviously not as resistant to impact as the big bald head of the Italian hunk Cannavaro, the busy team Dr. Gonzalez Lee diagnosed him with a mild concussion and scalp contusion, and needed to rest at home for 2 weeks. Li Tongfan looked at the diagnosis report sent by the team doctor, happy and depressed at the same time. He was happy that the captain Raul was out for 2 weeks, so he could legitimately give the Argentine boy Higuain more playing opportunities. He was depressed because the injury of the Black Prince Robbie Jr. made his favorite 4-1-2-1-2 formation lack a genuine winger. How can an eagle without a wing fly with only eyes? When Robinho was injured before, Lee Tongfan once let Higuain play as a winger, but the Argentine boy's strengths are in scoring in front of the goal and attacking in the middle. His sideline breakthrough and crossfield skills are far behind Robinho. Not only can he not fill the role of Robinho, but it is not conducive to the growth of the boy. Blindly playing as a guest is not a long-term solution. The league is long, and we must find a player who can be a substitute for Robinho and Real, while always ready to take over the guns of the black and white evil spirits for Real Madrid, since the transfer period has ended, and it is impossible to introduce satisfactory players from the outside. According to the current situation of Real Madrid, there are 2 main ways to solve this problem. One is to push the little Buddha Marcelo to the winger position, because his numerical distribution in FM 2007 is so gorgeous that some genuine wingers are embarrassed. The other way is to tap the potential internally and find 1 or 2 young demons with strong potential from the second tier team Castilla to train vigorously. Obviously, only the second method is in line with Lee Tongfan's vulgar character of liking young boys, and Leoli has always positioned Marcelo as Roberto Carlos II. If he lets him play as a winger, it would be a waste of money. Having made up his mind, Leoli immediately opened the FM 2007 scout tool from Genie Scout as soon as he got home after training, loaded the game save, and then with the ding dong system prompt sound, 2 points of character drifted away with the wind. Looking at the interface of the scout tool, Lee Tongfan's heart moved, and he clicked player search, and then called out all the players with potential values above 150 in the FM 2007 database. Since opening the scout tool will consume 2 points of character points every time, it is better to list all the players worth paying attention to at once, and find them directly from the list, whenever there is a need in the future. Once and for all, click OK to start the search. In less than 10 seconds, all the names of the players who meet the requirements are displayed on the main interface of the computer. The scout tool lists the nationality, club, position on the field, current ability, potential current value, and listing price of these players in a very user-friendly way. Lee Tongfan first classified the players according to their clubs, so that it is easy to see the potential and current ability values of all Real Madrid players. Among all the Real Madrid first team players, the ones with the highest potential and current ability values are of course the handsome old Beckham who was transformed by Leoli and the fat alien Ronaldo. Lee Tongfan was inspired and double-clicked to open Beckham's personal profile, and then began to check the report of the scout tool Genie on the heartthrob. He couldn't help but be surprised, because the report about Beckham was extremely awesome. Best position. Genie believes that David Beckham's best position is defensive midfielder, but he is sure that David Beckham is also competent in the midfield and attacking midfielder positions. Ability. David Beckham is a godlike player. Genie estimates that David Beckham is the best player in the world in this position. Potential. David Beckham's ability will improve greatly very fast. Genie estimates that David Beckham is the best player in the world in this position in terms of potential. Personality. Genie believes that David Beckham is an ambitious, absolutely professional, decisive, resolute, brave and charismatic player. Pros. Genie guarantees that David Beckham is a set piece genius. His key factor as a technical player lies in his excellent crossing ability. Genie also points out that David Beckham is a player who can adapt to living in other countries. Cons. This player's movement in space will hinder his dribbling. Transfer information. The transfer price of David Beckham is unknown. Genie suggests that you can sign a 10-month short-term contract with him. Godlike player. This is the first time that Lee Tongfan has seen professional scout Genie make such an evaluation of a player in FM scouting tool. It seems that the modified Beckham has indeed reached the level of God. This made Leoli couldn't help but click on the scouting interface of another enhanced version of Ronaldo. Sure enough, the system's professional scout Genie's evaluation of the alien was exactly the same as that of Beckham. Genie believed that Ronaldo was a speed forward, and at the same time he can also serve as a point grabbing forward, and he is also a godlike player. In the forward position, Ronaldo is the number 1 player. After reading the information about the two of them, Leoli happily drank a gulp of rye beer. At present, it seems that the transformation of Ziobi and Fati is definitely a successful god-making movement. After having fun, Leoli began to observe the relevant ability data of other players in the Real Madrid first team. Except for Ziobi and Fati, among the other players in the first team, the current ability value is the highest of the head coach Santa Cassi, which is as high as 188, which is far from the highest potential, worth 192, 4 points short of potential. Gina's report on Cassi is as follows. To make up for what I did yesterday, I waited until 11 o'clock in the evening and still didn't get back to the boss of the mobile phone repair department. Chapter 71. The real data of several legendary demons. Best position, Igor Casillas is a goalkeeper. Ability, Igor Casillas is a world-class player. Genie estimates that Casillas is about the same level as Petisech. Potential, Igor Casillas can achieve technical success. Genie estimates that Casillas can become a player at the same level as Sech. Personality, Genie believes that Igor Casillas is a relatively sportsmanlike, ambitious, and a model of a professional player. He is determined and decisive. Advantages, the main advantage of this player is ball saving. Genie believes that Igor Casillas is a player who enjoys big competitions. Disadvantages, Igor Casillas has no weaknesses, which is his biggest weakness. Transfer information, Genie estimates that Igor Casillas can be signed for 100 meters, £100 million. You can try to sign a 5-year contract with him. By observing Casillas' Genie report, Leoli discovered that, although the system evaluation of this pure natural without any artificial coloring superstar was extremely high, it was slightly lower than that of Beckham and Ronaldo, and even slightly inferior to Chelsea's Czech goalkeeper Sech. This is strange. Casillas' potential is 192, and the current ability is 188. He is already a very BT figure. Could Sech be even more awesome than this value? Lee Tongfan couldn't help but search for the Czech's value. Sure enough, Sech's potential value reached 197, and his current ability was even more terrifying. The evaluation given by one was exactly the same as that of Beckham and Ronaldo, a godlike player, the best player in the world in the goalkeeper position. Lee Tongfan stared at the Czech's head portrait and drooled for a while. If such a person could be poached, it would be really. But looking at this guy's transfer listing price of 150 meters, he had to retreat. In addition to Casillas, other players with terrifying stats include Roberto Carlos with 192 and 154, Raul with 184 and 167, Cicinho with 185 and 170. Van Nistelrooy with 185 and 175, Robinho with 185 and 191, Modric with 170 and 188, Joel Luca with 159 and 179, Higuain with 145 and 185, Fernando Gago with 150 and 172. In short, the handsome men in Real Madrid's first team are all monsters with terrifying stats. Of course, these are all minor episodes. The main purpose of consuming 2 points of character points to activate the scout tool is to find a few young demons worth cultivating within the team. The search results did not disappoint Lee. A pink and beautiful demon jumped into Lee Tongfan's eyes. Juan Manuel Mata, an absolutely pure demon. The double value of the demon. That can't be more demon. 155, 194. Lee Tongfan was so shocked by such values that he almost spit out a mouthful of spring wheat black beer in his mouth. What a pink and beautiful demon with infinite potential. Judging from the avatar, he looks very handsome. The potential of 194 is only 6 points away from the system default full value of 200. Such a natural demon is more precious than the acquired demons such as Elio Panzi and Juan Renmi. Such a person is definitely a genius among geniuses. What makes Lee even happier is that this super little boy named Mata is good at playing as a winger and can even play as an attacking midfielder and a forward. He is a typical all-rounder in the front court. Lee Tongfan took out the black notebook he carried with him, wrote down Mata's full name and the position he is good at, and then clicked to record Gina's scouting report on Mata. The sentence with the highest evaluation of matter in the report is, the ball is alive at Matter's feet. Genie believes that Matter has an unpredictable dribbling ability. Unpredictable dribbling ability. Isn't this the ability that Lee hopes his winger has the most? A rising La Liga dribbling king is about to be born. The unexpected surprise brought by Matter made Lee Tongfan's young talent overflow. After achieving his goal, Lee Tongfan began to pay attention to other teams' high potential talents. He sorted the search results from high to low according to potential. At the top of the Scout tool interface, there were two familiar names, the popular Beckham and Luo Pangzi. Then there were 18-year-old Anderson and 17-year-old Alexander Pato from Brazil, with potentials of 198 and 197 respectively. The two pure Brazilian young talents beat the old predecessor Henry's 196, and they have a bright future. It's a pity that Anderson's club Porto is a well-known vampire. Genie believes that Anderson's transfer listing price is as high as 35 meters. With the transfer funds currently in Lee's hands, it is still not enough to buy a big fire of others, so he can only take it slowly. Another famous young boy Pato is in an international club in Brazil, and his transfer price is only 4.5 meters. However, in order to protect domestic talented players, the Brazilian Football Association strictly prohibits players under the age of 18 from signing professional contracts with foreign clubs. Therefore, if Leoli wants to buy Pato, he will have to wait for at least a year. Is there anything more frustrating than seeing a sweet cake in front of you that you can only look at but not eat? Leoli had to continue reading with tears in his eyes. Among the top 20, except for a few pink young girls with high potential, the others are basically some seniors who have already become famous, such as the Ukrainian nuclear warhead Shevchenko's 192 and 175, the Italian goalkeepers 193 and 184. There are 145 players with a potential of over 180. This time, Shota and Leo Yeo are divided into half. However, one of them is called the number 1 forward in 2007 by many game fans in the FM forum. He plays for the Premier League giant Arsenal. Carlos Vela. Carlos Vela made Leoli a little disappointed, with only 180 and 130, which was a bit unworthy of the name. However, this young lady can be called the number 1 striker by many FM 2007 fans, and his popularity is even better than that of Brazilian golden boy Pato. He really has his own merits. Leoli thought about it, and regarded him seriously. The name was recorded in black pen. There is no false person under the great reputation. Vela's transfer price of only 4.5 meters is like a drop in the bucket for Real Madrid, so let's just test the waters. It doesn't hurt to buy it and give it a try, just in case this little monster from Mexico can really become a blockbuster with its 180 potential. But when talking about Carlos Ferrer, we have to mention another of his compatriots, Giovanni dos Santos, who plays for Real Madrid's rival Barcelona and is known as Ronaldinho second Giovanni dos Santos. The FM 2007 system has a very high evaluation of this young Mexican shooter who looks like the cartoon version of Ronaldinho. His potential and current ability are 192 and 100 respectively. The ability difference is as high as 92, and the training prospects are huge. An absolute gem, but it is too difficult to lure him from Barcelona. Not to mention the competitive relationship between the two teams in the league. Just talking about the transfer situation of players between each other due to Luis Figo, it is not easy to get Dos Santos. In fact, in addition to Dos Santos, the Barcelona team also has a handsome young lady of pure Spanish descent, Bojan, who is known as the Little Prince of Catalonia. I wonder how he is evaluated in the system. Leoli's ambition is getting bigger and bigger now. He really wants to get all the high potential young ladies in his pocket. Please wait for number 21's Iodeo to return to HD for more updates. Now go back and contact the Combine to pick up the Cunning. This chapter was coded at 2 o'clock in the middle of the night. After pulling out the Cunning yesterday, my time and mental state have been unstable recently, so please forgive me. Chapter 70 to the Castilian Eagle that can. 039. T find the sky. But unfortunately, Boyang brought disappointment to Leo Lee instead of surprise, because the potential of the long-renowned Little Prince of Catalonia was only 166. Even less famous than De La Red of Real Madrid's second team, Boyang became the only long-renowned little demon boy that Leo Lee excluded from the Black Notebook. Alas, what a pity for the handsome and attractive appearance of the little guy. Lee Tongfan shamelessly sighed like this. After recording all the noteworthy high potential little demons, Leo Lee patted the Black Notebook with satisfaction, and then carefully checked the ability values of all the players of Real Madrid's first team, and he actually found a noteworthy player. In the Real Madrid first team, there is one person whose ability value is beyond Lee Tongfan's expectation. Right back SYNOPSIS point before. This, because SYNOPSIS is not handsome, not tall, and has a low-key personality. Leo Lee did not pay much attention to this Brazilian right back. SYNOPSIS' performance in training can only be regarded as mediocre, not very colorful, so he has never been able to catch Leo Lee's eye. Who knows that the value of the Brazilian in the scout tool really shocked Leo Lee. Current ability 170. Potential 185. This value is too gorgeous for a 26-year-old defender. It is better than the 170 and 180 of Ramos, the hammer that Lee Tongfan has always relied on. This is strange. It is said that having talent is like being pregnant. It will show up after a long time. Why did Leo Lee not find SYNOPSIS' talent after more than 3 months? For the first time, Leo Lee felt that he had not been a good head coach. It seems that in addition to learning tactical knowledge from assistant coach Greed, Leo Lee has still far to go in terms of communicating with players and identifying and employing people. The road to becoming a head coach is long and arduous, and Leo Lee still has to seek up and down. The next day, after discussing with Greed to arrange the team's training, Lee Tongfan came to the training ground of Real Madrid's second-tier team Castilla alone. Castilla's head coach is a 39-year-old middle-aged man named Carlos Mintilla, who once played for La Liga teams Espanyol and Celta as a player, but Mintilla's playing experience is not brilliant. Instead, he has achieved success as a coach after retiring. He is quite famous in Spain. He just joined Real Madrid in June this year and became the head of Castilla, as they are both newcomers in the big family of Real Madrid, and Carlos Mintilla is also the 4th assistant coach of the first team. He has known Lee Tongfan for a long time, and the relationship between the two is pretty good. Therefore, as soon as Lee entered the training base, Mencha came up to him. "Lee, do you remember the boys here? This is your first time to the youth training base, Lee." Tongfan was a little embarrassed. Although he, the head coach who has been called a phenomenon by major football media, has not lost a game so far, and has won the reputation of daring to boldly use young players, because of his insistence on using young players such as Joel Luca and Modric, he actually invested almost no energy in the team's youth training. Now that Carlos Mencha said this, the old face couldn't help but blush. This, Carlos. You know, I'm very busy. Mencha didn't expose him, and gently patted Lee Tongfan on the shoulder. "Lee, the boys here are great. You should give them more opportunities." When saying this, Mencha was also a little helpless, because the tradition of Real Madrid has always been just 2 words: superstar. It's not that Castilla has not cultivated excellent players in recent years, but except for Casillas and Raul, none of them have been able to gain a foothold in the first team. The increasingly impetuous atmosphere of the club made Castilla's young eagles lost in the starlight. Soldado, Portillo and others in the second team were all famous for a while, but they were rarely called up by the first team, and finally had to leave Real Madrid to find their own sky. On the contrary, the La Masia training camp of the mortal rival Barcelona has successively cultivated world-famous superstars such as Xavi, Iniesta, Messi, etc., which makes Castilla even more dwarfed. But as a colleague, Mencha clearly knows how much pressure Lee Tongfan has on him. Although he has been praised by the outside world for his excellent combat skills recently, in a team like Real Madrid, no matter how many wins you have, as long as the team's performance fluctuates slightly, the overwhelming criticism and accusations are enough to suffocate anyone. What's more, Lee Tongfan's situation is even more special. He entered the football giants at the age of less than 25. This was impossible in the past. I don't know how many people are eagerly waiting for Lee Tongfan to make a mistake. Therefore, Mencha can understand Leo Lee's approach. The superstar tradition formed, since the Florentino era is not so easy to change. Mensch thought Leoli was just in a momentary mood, and came to see the excitement. Unexpectedly, Lee Tongfan looked carefully at the Castilla young Eagles on the training ground and sighed seriously. These little guys are the future of the team. Carlos, don't worry, I will give them enough opportunities, as long as they can seize them. On the training ground, more than 30 players under the age of 18 are training under the leadership of the youth training coach. In order to facilitate Leoli's observation, Mensch thoughtfully divided the little guys into 2 teams and prepared for an internal group confrontation. Hey, look, who is that? A young player wearing the number 14 uniform pointed at Lee Tongfan standing on the sidelines and whispered to his companions. The little guy's name was printed on the back of his uniform. Dilar edits. Mr. Glutton. His companions began to exclaim, "It's Mr. Glutton, the head of the first team, wow." All the little guys began to boil. They heard about Robinho and Raul's injuries yesterday. The purpose of the first team coach coming to Castilla today can be known with their toes. The opportunity has come, as long as he can be favored by the man standing on the sidelines and successfully promoted to the first team, then the lifelong dream of being a professional player can be realized. Juan Mata is the most excited of all the little players. He is 18 years old this year, only 1.7 meters tall, and not strong. If it weren't for his speed and skills, that are much better than those of players of the same age, he would have been eliminated by Castilla long ago. In 30 days, Mata will celebrate his 19th birthday. If he doesn't get the call of Real Madrid's first team before he turns 19, then the little guy will have to leave here. If he is lucky, he can get the recognition of other Spanish professional clubs and continue his career. If he is unlucky, he can only say goodbye to football and find a job as a bus driver or a postman to make a living. Mata's family is not rich. The family urgently needs someone to stand up and share the pressure of life. His parents no longer have the financial ability to support him to continue his football dream. Today may be the last chance to change his destiny, because so far, no other team has come to him to discuss transfer matters. For him, only by working hard to get the coach's appreciation and successfully promoted to Real Madrid's first team can he continue his football dream. Looking at the man standing on the sidelines, 18-year-old Juan Mata's eyes flashed with a hint of heat. Thank you guys. Starting from the 22nd, at least 6,000 words per day. Chapter 73 report to the first team this afternoon. Since the head coach of the first team, Lee Tongfan, rarely comes to the youth training base, in order to seize this rare opportunity to recommend a few young players, Mendia carefully divided some young players who he thought were promising into a group, and other players who have been deemed to be of no value to the team have been assigned to another group. In Mendia's eyes, the thin Juan Mata belongs to the category of having no value to the team. After the game started, the young players were very active, especially the key group of players assigned by Mendia, led by midfielder number 14 Della Red, quickly took the lead. Dela Red stole the ball in the backcourt and took advantage of the coordination error of the two centre-backs on one side of the ordinary team to make a beautiful through ball. The 18-year-old forward Alberto Bruno didn't even have to make any extra moves and directly kicked the ball. The football flew past the crotch of Danny Hernandez, the 20-year-old goalkeeper in the general group. 1:0 exclamation point. Just 3 minutes into the game, the key group took the lead, and until this moment, Juan Mata didn't even get a chance to touch the ball. Like Mata, the players who were assigned to the ordinary group knew the intentions of head coach Mendia from the beginning. So Lee Tongfan became their only life-saving straw. In order to attract Lee Tongfan's attention, from the beginning of the game, the young players began to show off their skills and footwork. Teamwork had long been abandoned in Java, so Mata, as a winger, rarely got the ball. On the other hand, in the key group, although the young players also wanted to win Leoli's favor, they did not engage in personalism like the ordinary group, and they cooperated in a decent manner. In particular, Dela Red, who wears uniform number 14, sits in the midfield and directs and dispatches. He has the demeanor of a general at a young age and keeps his midfield in order. Therefore, the game completely showed a one-sided trend. In the 7th minute, the score changed again. Dela Red received his second assist of the game, relying on an indirect free kick in the front court to assist another young forward Adrian Gang. says scored with a header. Compared to the glorious Reed, Mata's game so far has been a complete failure. In the first 10 minutes of the game, Mata touched the ball a total of 4 times. The first 3 times he passed the ball in order to seek cooperation with his teammates, which took no more than 1 second. The last time he tried to break through, he was blocked after passing someone. Delailed made a sliding tackle and shoveled the ball out of the sideline. The balance of fate was gradually tilting. Mata glanced at the man standing on the sidelines who could decide his own destiny, and found that the other man had been staring at Derailed, his eyes full of admiration, but rarely looking at him. Did it fail? Mata pursed her lips, a little helpless, to use a Chinese netizen's philosophical words, to describe the little guy's current situation. That is, you are not afraid of opponents who are like gods, but you are afraid of teammates who are like pigs. With a group of teammates who only know how to show off their personal skills, but do not seek mutual cooperation. Even if Mata is covered in iron, how many nails can he twist? In the 15th minute of the game, Delailed scored with a direct free kick. Mata, on the other hand, only increased his number of touches to 6 times, attempted 4 passes, and failed 3 times, and 1 successful pass was wasted by his teammates. Gradually, Mata watched Leoli applauding Delared's wonderful performance from the sidelines, and became more and more anxious. In order to attract Leoli's attention, the little guy also started to work alone, and no longer played with him. After getting the ball, teammates cooperate and try to change the situation on the field with their own speed and skills. Leoli stood on the sidelines, and watched for more than 10 minutes. Although he understood the purpose of Mendy's grouping, he did not expect that the main target of his trip, young Shota Mata, was actually assigned to the ordinary group. Could it be that he had recognized the wrong person? Is there a second Mata here? Hey, man. Leoli pretended to point to Mata, who was dribbling the ball with his head covered, and patted Mendy on the shoulder. This little guy is good. What's his name? You mean him? Mendy followed Leoli's fingers and seriously doubted Tongfan's taste. Juan Mata? This little guy has good speed and skills, but his body is too poor. I'm afraid he can't adapt to high strength. Right match. Oh, Leo. Lee replied lightly and stopped talking, because he found that Mendy seemed to have a little prejudice against Mata, and from the perspective of the game, Mata's performance was indeed not outstanding. At least it was far from the opponent's number 14 player Delared. If FM 2007 scouting tool hadn't told Leoli that it was this little guy named Juan Mata who was less than 1.7 meters tall and very thin, but had a potential of 194, then Leoli would never have noticed him. However, since everything has been predicted, nothing can be done to make this little demon ranked among the top 10 potential in the FM 2007 database slip away from his 5-finger mountain. As for this Delared, if Leoli remembers correctly, his potential value in the system is 173, his current ability is 125, and his difference value is 48. It is considered to be of considerable training value. By the way, it doesn't hurt to follow the training of the first team. You can give it to him. The heartthrob and Argentinian Shota Gago come off the bench. What a sin. The first team also has a very tough midfielder, Mohamed Diarra, who has not played a few games yet. With Delared, the team has a serious surplus of defensive midfielders. For any head coach, this kind of problem is a happy worry. Leoli thought about it and decided to send Mohamed away during the winter break. Although the Malians are extremely strong, it is a pity that they are not the type of the wretched Leoli who will not marry unless he is a pretty girl. It would be a waste of resources if he stayed. Having made up his mind, Leoli, considering that there was a La Liga match with Celta in the evening, no longer had the heart to continue observing the performance of the little guys. Mencha saw Leoli's thoughts and blew the whistle to end the game. How about it, Lee? Is there any little guy you like? Mencha's mood fully reflects the ancient Chinese saying, the emperor is not anxious, but the eunuch is. The young players haven't asked questions yet, but the coach can't wait. After the game, Mata came to the sidelines with his teammates panting to drink water, and thought about his performance carefully, with despair in his heart. 0 goals and 0 assists. The team lost the game 0:7. With such a performance, the chance of being selected by that man is less than 1 in 1,000. and from beginning to end, the man stood on the sidelines and never looked at himself. The whole game, there was only one focus, that is number 14 Delared. The frustrated Mata didn't know that the reason why Tongfan didn't observe him was because before coming to the youth training base, Leoli had already positioned him with a potential of 194 as the primary target, and he was the one who must be taken away. When the break was over, the young players found that Tongfan had left the training ground at some point. Immediately, they all lowered their heads in dejection. Since Leoli didn't come to lecture them, it meant that the man who controlled the fate of all the youth training players didn't pick a satisfactory player. Just then, Delared, come here, the voice of Mr. Mencha, the youth training director, reached the ears of the little guys. In the envious eyes of all the little guys, Mencha gently patted Delared on the shoulder. Well done, Mr. Lee. Tongfan asked you to report to the first team tomorrow. The other players applauded warmly and were happy for their partners. Looking at Delared's excited expression, Mata lowered his head. He wished that Mr. Mencha had called out his name, but Delared's performance of 3 assists and 2 goals was indeed more worthy of a first team spot. And maybe I should really become a truck driver. At least I can share some of the pressure of life for my parents. Juan. Mata. Mr. Mencha's voice sounded again. Mata subconsciously agreed, and then froze, because in the eyes of all the little guys who couldn't believe it, Mencha continued. Mr. Lee. Tongfan asked you to report to the first team in the afternoon. First team, Delared will report tomorrow. Why is it in the afternoon? In the warm autumn sunshine. 18-year-old Juan Mata was stunned at the side of the training ground, and he didn't notice that the pure water in the water bottle was spilled all over the floor. Tonight's train will first go to Lanzhou and reverse. It is estimated that it will arrive at HD at noon on the 21st, so the update on the 20th of may be interrupted. Sorry, I'm on the train all the time. Xiaodao can't help it. When I return to HD, I won't have to squeeze out time to update a little bit every day like holding back urine. Guys are not happy to see it, and Xiaodao is not happy to update it. Chapter 74, Natives help newcomers. Real Madrid first team training base in Madrid Sports City. Why do you have to report in the afternoon? Seeing Mata's puzzled expression, Leoli smiled obscenely and thought to himself, do you really have to let me tell you? In fact, your potential is 194. Except for a few mavericks with a potential of -10 in the database, your value is the best. If Leoli really said this, then the kind-hearted Mata would probably quickly call a doctor who is good at treating fantasy to talk to the head coach about personality and ideals. So Leoli pinched the little boy's delicate face in a daze and vowed, I think you are a talented player. The team needs you to contribute your strength now. Work hard, little guy. You will become a new legend of Real Madrid. Lee. Tongfan didn't just say this casually. After reading the detailed information about Mata sent by Mencha, the head of the second-tier team Castilla, Lee Tongfan found that the little guy was also born in a poor family, and his life, before getting FM 2007 was comparable. He immediately felt sympathetic. It would be unjust if he didn't cultivate such a red-blooded and clean-class little boy into his own line. Hearing Leoli's high evaluation, Mata's rationality made him retain a trace of doubt. If the man in front of him, who was only 4 or 5 years older than him, was not the head coach of the Real Madrid first team, just looking at his wretched appearance of drooling when he spoke, Mata would definitely think that he had met a lustful human trafficker. So the little guy politely said thank you and began to train with the seniors of the first team in a daze. To be honest, although they played in the same club before, Mata had never played football with the Golden Wolf Guti, the popular Beckham and other idols who were once pasted on the head of his bed in the dormitory as teammates. For Mata, a newcomer, it is inevitable to be a little nervous, so much so that after several mistakes in stopping the ball, Mata was already a little at a loss. His dumbfounded look made the assistant coach Greed, who was standing on the sidelines and observing him, frown. To be honest, the old coach couldn't understand why Tongfan would transfer this semi-finished product who was almost 19 years old to the first team on a whim. However, considering that every time Leoli did something amazing that others could not understand, he always achieved unexpected good results. Greed, who had developed a blind obedience to Leoli, chose to support Tongfan's decision, but now it seems, Greed shook his head. After just a dozen minutes of training, he found that the always magical Lee Tongfan seemed to have stumbled this time. Obviously, this young sprout with a height of just 1.7 meters and a weight of only 65 kilograms is far from reaching the level of the first team. Lee Tongfan also stood on the sidelines and shook his head, but it was not because of disappointment. This situation was not beyond Lee's expectations. It was almost the same as he expected. Although Mata had high potential, it would take some time for him to become the pillar of Real Madrid's first team. However, Lee Tongfan could not wait that long. At this moment, Lee had already begun to plan a ripening plan in his heart. If he did not pounce on such a handsome young man immediately, Lee's Shota heart would itch hard to stop. Thinking of this, Lee stopped observing Mata's performance, greeted Beckham to come over, whispered a few words in his ear, and turned away. This scene was clearly seen by the confused Mata. The sensitive little guy was aroused by the two first team leaders, Old J and Old Lee. He finally entered the first team. If he was returned, because of poor performance, he might as well cut off his own heart. So, gradually put away his worship of idols, Mata threw all his worries aside and started playing football in the way he was best at. Stop the ball, turn around, fake moves, accelerate, pass, cross, a fat striker rushed to the top, and then the ball went in. When there was a cheer from the side, the highly concentrated little Mata looked up. And an incredible look appeared on his pretty face. I just easily broke through Roberto Carlos's defense. Roberto Carlos, known as the best left back in the past decade, the first to cheer was Beckham, followed by Fat Ronaldo, and then the whole team. Just now, Leoli called Beckham over to arrange an important task for the two confidants, to help the junior brother Mata adapt to the rhythm and life of the first team as soon as possible. Since he has made up his mind to train Mata, Leoli will consider all aspects very carefully. If the newcomer wants to fully exert his strength in the new environment, especially a newcomer like Mata, he must get the support of the local natives. Beckham and the alien are definitely tough guys who have both qualifications and political achievements in the first team of Real Madrid. As long as these two people can help Mata open the dyeing factory, then the little boy's future will definitely be bright and red in Europe. Of course, the little boy's biggest supporter is Leoli. There is no one in the first team who dares to go against Lee Tongfan, the celebrity of the club's top management, the darling of the media, and the savior of the fans. Since Leoli wants to support him, everyone has to give him some face. What's more, Ziobi and Fatty are already completely devoted to Leoli, so after Beckham cheered, the alien who just received Mata's pass and scored with a header grinned and showed his two big rabbit teeth, with an exaggerated look on his face. The ball just passed was really comfortable. It seems that Ronaldinho, I'll have to be your substitute after I recover from the injury. After receiving such praise from his idol, Shota scratched his head in embarrassment. Then he looked at the friendly smiles of his superstar teammates around him, and his confidence was growing bit by bit. In the subsequent training, the heartthrob Beckham, who controls the team's offensive rhythm, has been intentionally giving more ball rights to Mata, and Ronaldo always gives a thumbs up after receiving Mata's pass, no matter whether it is good or bad. Marcel, Ramos, Modric and other hammers who were assigned to Mata's group also intentionally or unintentionally gave Ziyech some help. By the end of the training, Mata actually became the team's number of receptions and passes. Although the effectiveness and threat of the most players are average, compared with the initial performance, that was full of mistakes, and at a loss, it is already a world of difference. So much so that assistant coach Grad, who had secretly sentenced Mata to death a long time ago, was a little surprised. If he continues to improve at this rate, he might be able to adapt to the needs of Real Madrid's first team in a year and a half. But the little guy's this body. After looking at Mata's physical condition, Grad couldn't help but shake his head. He was still not very optimistic about the future of Real Madrid, but this time, the excited little Mata didn't notice the expression of the second boss Leojen. Little Shota, who had become more and more accustomed to the atmosphere of the first team, was completely immersed in the happiness that football brought him. An even happier thing happened in the afternoon. In Lee Tongfan's announcement of the home game against Real Betis, Juan Mata's name was listed. Let me tell you guys first, the knife is back in HD. Return to normal updates. 3 updates today, 6,000. Try to end before 10 o'clock. After all, I stayed up late on the train for 2 nights in a row, and there was nothing more I could do. More to come starting tomorrow. Secondly, due to internet problems during this period, the reward for the essence has not been available. After the update of the knife in the evening, it will be given away in one go, as many as you can get. Starting from post number 9, Stop Talking and Continue Coding. Chapter 75, The Perseverant Prince Fernando. At 2200 hours on the evening of September 16th, Real Madrid's home game against Real Betis and Barcelona's away game against Valencia started at the same time. Before the game, public opinion was unanimously optimistic about Real Madrid. Although Real Betis is also a member of the La Liga Champions Club, since the club was founded in 1907, their only championship experience was in the distant 1935. In addition, the results that Betis can achieve are the third place in the league in 1964 and 1995, and the runner-up in the Spanish Super Cup in the season that just ended. You must know that in the current situation, where Real Madrid and Barcelona are the two strongest players, even Sevilla, Valencia and Villarreal and other La Liga giants can only pretend to be grandsons and play low-key, waiting until the two strong players take a nap. To spoil the situation, a secondary powerhouse like Betis wants to overturn Real Madrid, which has not lost this season, in an away game, which is basically the same as Don Quixote challenging a windmill. On the contrary, Barcelona's away game against Valencia has attracted more attention from the media and fans. Real Madrid supporters hope that Valencia can use their home advantage to help the team, which has so far accumulated 0 points and ranked third in the La Liga standings. The 20th place rival Barcelona retained the throne of last place, and by the way, widened the points gap with Real Madrid, paving the way for Real Madrid to win the championship. Fans of the Catalan team are eagerly looking forward to it, waiting for the Black Swan Rijkaard to regain his power as the world's best coach in 2006, step on Valencia's corpse to realize the GD counter-attack, and finally surpass Real Madrid to defend the dignity of the defending champion. The odds offered by the bookmaker are also very telling. Real Madrid has a winning rate of 1-6, a draw of 5-1, and Real Betis has a winning rate of 10-1. On the other hand, Barcelona and Valencia have a winning rate of 1-2 for Barcelona and a draw of 1-1. Valencia's winning rate is 3-1. Overall, the major betting companies are more optimistic that Real Madrid will easily defeat Betis at home, and Valencia, which has the home advantage, has David Villa, and David Silva, with famous La Liga players such as David Sliver, Joaquin and Vicente. It is not impossible to defeat Barcelona, although it is expected that the clash between Barcelona and Valencia should be more exciting in terms of excitement. CCTV5 still chose to broadcast the battle between Real Madrid and Real Betis live because of Li Tongfan at 3:45 am. BJ time. Countless fans were waiting in front of the TV to wait for the game to start. City of Madrid, Bernabeu Stadium. At the whistle of referee Alfonso Oliveira, the game begins. Due to the tight schedule in the next week, Li Tongfan made adjustments to the team's starting lineup. Argentina's young shot Higuain replaced Ruud van Nistelrooy as the starting forward, partnering with the alien Ronaldo, and the attacking midfielder was Guti. Marcelo Sacchiamuni Jr. replaced Robinho as the left winger, and formed a new black and white double with Riaz. The midfielder is still a new generation of all-around defensive midfielder Beckham. On the backline, Zixinia replaced Ramos as a starter, and formed the forking Kang at the back with Cannavaro, Joel Luca and Roberto Carlos. The leader was in the Spanish country, because of the handsome and unreasonable classmate Casillas. In the game, I got the Ruby God of War card, and substitute Diego Lopez started. Junior Mata was sitting on the Bernabeu bench, trembling with excitement, and crossed himself hundreds of times on his chest. Since it was a home game, Real Madrid adhered to the aggressive attack policy implemented by Li Tongfan since he took office, and played very relaxedly. Only 2 minutes and 45 seconds into the game, Real Betis defender Fernando Vega knocked down Real Madrid 35 meters in front of their own goal. Guti, the captain on the field, gave Beckham a perfect opportunity to use the full moon scimitar point, perhaps because the opportunity came too early. The heartthrob was not prepared enough. Amidst the size of more than 70,000 Real Madrid fans, He hit the left post of the Betis goal. However, Real Madrid fans quickly forgot about this unpleasantness, because in the 5th minute of the game Betis defender Fernando Vega, who was suspected of being a serious undercover agent, saw that Beckham failed to live up to the free kick opportunity he sent, and did not hesitate. Give Real Madrid an even bigger surprise, a penalty kick. The result of the matter is this. The heartthrob made a long pass from the backcourt to Higuain, who was in front. The little watermelon used his bulging muscles to resist the Betis defender and headed the ball diagonally to the high-speed defender from the right. Real wasted no time. Real passed the ball to the penalty area. Before he could shoot, Fernando Vega made a tackle with ulterior motives. Then Real cooperated and shamelessly lay in the small penalty area rolling and howling. Then, referee Alfonso appeared in the right place at the right time. Amid the cheers of Real Madrid fans, he neatly rewarded Fernando Vega, who played infernal affairs so persistently and perseveringly, with a tube, a topaz God of War card, and awarded Real Madrid a penalty kick. Because the penalty was so weird, the two coaches standing on the sideline said in unison, "Damn." Leoli was excited, while Betis coach was angry. In fact, Real had stopped the ball a little too far, and Betis goalkeeper Sanchez completely blocked the near corner. The chance of not scoring this kind of ball is 10 times the chance of scoring. I really don't know what Fernando Vega was thinking. He resolutely shoveled towards Real's foot without the ball. In the stormy waves of "Come on, Madrid," Ronaldo scored a penalty kick. In the 6th minute of the game, Real Madrid took the lead at home 1:0! Playing at home, a dream start. Almost everything indicated that this game had lost suspense, but the next game was not as optimistic as Real Madrid fans imagined. After losing the ball, Betis quickly organized a threatening counter-attack. Unfortunately, the 21-year-old Brazilian striker Rafael Sobis, who joined the team this season, has not yet fully integrated into the team. He actually headed the ball over the top of his teammate and fellow Brazilian Edu, who had already bypassed goalkeeper Diego Lopez. Seeing this scene, Betis' head coach couldn't help but swear for the second time in the game, "Fuck." In the 15th minute, Sissinho, who had been newly appointed by Lee Tongfan as a starter for the first time this season, was probably a little too excited when he sent a sideline ball in his own half. He didn't know if it was because his head was filled with water or something, but he threw the ball over the big bald head of his teammate Cannavaro, who came forward to receive it and handed it to the confused Rafael Sobis. Sobis glanced at his Brazilian fellow Sissinho and immediately ran with the ball after he realized it. Fortunately, Real Madrid's other central defender Joel Luca was in a precise position, and he rushed over from the side with his long legs and made a high-tech flying tackle to shovel the ball away. Second update, no more nonsense. Continue typing. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.